One Piece. The First Family. Chapter 81. Kuina also had a surprised expression on her face. This man's swordsmanship is really strong, comparable to Roger's. After his resurrection, he stayed on the boat for a few days. Of course he knew Minato's father was stronger. Maybe I can realize my dream and become the world's greatest swordsman. Although she will be resurrected, her age will be the same as when she died. So I am 8 years younger than Zoro. The situation has reversed. Zoro is already an adult, and she is just a little girl. There is no way to compete with Zoro. Now I saw hope. If he could become a disciple of his father and learn powerful swordsmanship, then he would be able to catch up with Zoro. My former self was able to beat Zoro until he was unable to fight back. Although he was a few years older than Zoro at the time, he was much stronger in terms of strength and swordsmanship. Kuina is naturally unwilling to accept that Zoro is far ahead of her now. She knew from Nami's mouth that Zoro was now a very powerful person. Although the battle with Hawkeye was a disastrous defeat, it was just that the gap between the two sides was too big. Hawkeye is at his peak, Zoro is just getting started, and he will definitely become a powerful swordsman after venturing into the sea. Kuina is sure of this, because Zoro is such a determined person. Dasuki was already shocked beyond measure. How could two such powerful people suddenly appear on this island? I can't help but compare these two people with Smoker. These two people are undoubtedly younger than Smoker, maybe even a little younger than me. The young man wearing red clouds and black clothes is undoubtedly just a child. This young man wearing glasses must be smaller than me, and he is not even taller than me. The development of girls is undoubtedly faster than that of boys. These two men felt like they could have pushed Colonel Smoker to the ground and beaten him. How could such a terrifying person appear on the sea? If such people go to the sea outside, I am afraid that a big force will be born immediately. Now she knows only 4 people, a little blonde girl, and the long-haired boy, Orochimaru, who can summon Roger. Among these people, the weakest one is actually the little blonde girl. At the beginning, she was very envious of such people. Colonel Smoker was tricked by a teleportation technique and was completely unable to catch him. Even when the marine hero came, it took a lot of effort to almost catch him. She became more and more curious about where this place was and why it was so scary. If the news here spreads to the sea, I'm afraid the sea will shake. She thought deep in her heart that she must study this place carefully. See what kind of secrets this place hides. After a while, Aizen and Roger were evenly matched in battle. Aizen just had no interest in fighting. He has got the answer he wanted. His current strength can be said to be the best in the sea. After all, One Piece Roger is the top strong man. But he hasn't used his Kyoka Suigetsu yet. It's no longer necessary. He looked at Orochimaru and said with a smile. Orochimaru, if you don't stop him, I will let you sink in Genjutsu for 3 months. Orochimaru was frightened and quickly asked Roger to stop. Aizen's Genjutsu is different from Itachi's in that it can be activated at any time and does not need to be seen by the opponent. There is no way I can cope with it. After being hit by Genjutsu, there is nothing you can do even if you know you are in Genjutsu. Itachi's Genjutsu Orochimaru still knows how to deal with it, don't look into those eyes easily. He said with a smile. Brother Aizen, it's just a joke, please don't take it seriously. He was really scared. But he also asked about the doubts in his heart. Brother Aizen, can your Genjutsu control my evil body reincarnation Roger? Aizen had a dangerous smile on his face. Looking at the mess all around, it was a joke to make the family island look like this. He wanted to impose a slight punishment, but he had to see his father when he came back. Forget it this time, he is his younger brother after all. In response to his answer, he explained with a smile. Orochimaru, you haven't forgotten that I have Shinigami power, right? If you let Roger move freely, then my Genjutsu can naturally control him, but if it is controlled by you, it will naturally be useless. Naturally, he would not have failed to realize that Orochimaru had just manipulated Roger into fighting. He is a Shinigami, and his Genjutsu is complete hypnosis, which makes it easier to control souls and the like. Orochimaru suddenly understood. As expected of Brother Aizen. If Roger were allowed to act on his own, he would indeed hit Genjutsu. The power of Shinigami has a special effect on the soul. Aizen noticed at this moment that the women next to Minato were foreign women. Orochimaru, why did you bring these outsiders back? Two of them were still tied with ropes and had tape on their mouths. Minato explained with a smile. Brother Aizen, this is the little mom I brought back, Nami and Nokigao. Orochimaru also explained. These two are the concubines I brought back for my father. My father will definitely be happy. Nami and Naki were a little embarrassed. She is Minato's baby mother, isn't that the baby mother of these people? Minato was only 5 or 6 years old, and Orochimaru was only 12 years old. This young man named Aizen is only 1 head shorter than them, so he is considered to be of the same age. It feels really weird to call them baby mom, but calling them sister is more like it. Daisuke was speechless. She was kidnapped not voluntarily. Vivi wanted to be this concubine. Such thighs must be embraced so that our country can be saved. Aizen was stunned when he heard this. Bringing 4 of them at once. Orochimaru looked at the surprised Aizen and said with a smile. These are all Minato's good ideas, and I followed them. Daisuke was really speechless. I didn't expect that this little blonde girl was the one who took the lead. She had such a cute face, but she came up with such a horrible idea. She was really a little devil. Is it what his father taught him? Aizen smiled helplessly. Let's go to see father together, Itachi, you clean this place up. It happened that he had something to go to his father for. That was Dio and Jotaro, who had actually sneaked out. My father ordered not to go out, but my brothers and sisters couldn't bear the loneliness. They are too strong and have too strong personalities. There is no other way. After staying on the island for more than 10 years, it is normal to feel tired. Even he was a little bored and wanted to take a walk on the sea. Itachi nodded in agreement, he still listened to his brother's words very much. Of course, he himself was one of the culprits who made the outer forest a mess. Nami and Nokigao became excited and nervous when they heard that they were going to see their father. They were finally going to see their father. I don't know what kind of strange man he is. After all, they are people who have never been in love, but the person they see now is their lifelong belonging. Yes, of course belonging. Daisuke was panicking. She was going to be given as a gift to her father, and her body was even going to be ravaged. It is impossible not to feel uneasy. Vivi's initial uneasiness turned into excitement. That's because she saw hope on this island, so she had already made up her mind. She is the princess of a country and the future queen. Her father has only 1 child, and protecting the country is her primary responsibility. If there is such a power to protect the Alabasta Kingdom, then our country will become the safest country in the world. Naturally she was moved. Of course she hopes the other person is a man she likes. The person who can give birth to so many powerful children must be a tall, powerful and resolute man. That's quite charming, and I guess life in the future will be very exciting. She naturally knew that after marrying her father, she would become one. At the same time, she hopes to meet a gentle and strong person. This is her personal favorite type. I don't know if my wish will come true. At this moment, Roger was walking with the group, feeling numb with shock. He only has 1 woman, and that's Rouge. The man I want to meet now is going to have 4 women at once. 2 of them seemed very happy, and 2 seemed to have been kidnapped. The 4 girls are all very nice. The orange-haired and dark-skinned blue-haired woman look a bit alike, maybe they are sisters. The one with black hair and glasses, he remembered, seemed to be a female marine. Although she is dressed in ordinary clothes, she is a woman with very good foundation. But this woman with long blue hair and snow-white skin has a noble temperament. At first glance, she is no ordinary woman, but a person of status. To be honest, he was a little envious of such a guy. Of course, this man has so many children, so he must have more than 1 woman. He was doubting in his heart, is this person really Joey Boy? Is Joey Boy the kind of person who covets beauty? This kind of concubinage behavior is more like that of a certain big noble or royal family member, and their wives and concubines will be in groups. In fact, maybe you will know when you meet him later. Minato also followed Aizen, feeling very happy to be able to see his father. Under the leadership of Aizen, the group passed through the forest and could see a huge manor in the distance. It was surrounded by flowers and the fragrance was fragrant. Nami looked at the manor and saw very clearly that the decoration was so exquisite. But it doesn't have that grand feeling. There is only exquisite feeling in my heart. I know that such a master must not be a copper-smelling person, but a very tasteful person. If she could live here, she would be very comfortable. She already kind of wanted this life. Even Vivi was surprised. This place is really beautiful, even more beautiful than the palace where she lives. There was no dull feeling that the palace brought her. The owner here must be a gentleman or something. Someone who makes his home so exquisite. He is not likely to be an evil person, nor is he a rude man. I feel a sense of peace of mind. Even Dasky was deeply touched. For people who live in such a beautiful environment, are the owners here really evil people? This environment reveals a peaceful atmosphere and makes people feel very comfortable. Suddenly she saw a man with silver hair and red eyes, wearing a black tight-fitting combat uniform with blue laminated armor. The shoulders are equipped with a white down fur collar connected to the back. His face was very cold. The previous person named Itachi gave her the impression that he was cold and not easy to mess with. This person also gave her the feeling that she was not easy to mess with. She had bad suspicions in her mind. Does this person also have special abilities? I don't know what kind of special ability it is. Nami asked curiously. Minato, is that your brother? Minato said with a smile. Yes, this is brother Tobirama. His water style is very powerful, and his flying thunder god technique is much better than mine. Of course, if I can be as powerful as him when I grow up. Her father said she was a genius in learning the art of flying thunder god. Nami was a little surprised. What a powerful guy, even more powerful than Minato. Of course she knew that Minato's teleportation technique was called the flying thunder god technique. Minato used this move to kill the colonel named Mouse instantly, and even used this move to kill Eren. But what exactly is this water style? Never heard of it, she asked curiously. Minato, what is this water style? Minato explained with a smile. It's a ninjutsu that can control water. Like my great fireball, Tobirama can cast a very powerful water dragon bullet. Nami just thought it was amazing that he could control water. She was inexplicably looking forward to what kind of magical power her children would have in the future. Unknowingly, she wanted to have a child with Minato's father. There's nothing she can do about it, it's so attractive to her. She has to marry her father anyway, so she will definitely have children. Although she was about to give birth to a child as soon as she became an adult, she might have felt uncomfortable at first, but now she was looking forward to it in her heart. Dasky, who was following Minato, was shocked when he heard this and couldn't believe it. Control water. It can also launch powerful attacks, which is really a terrifying ability. You must know that people with devil fruit abilities are afraid of seawater. If they are touched by seawater, they will become weak. If it soaks into the whole body, they will become even more weak and lose mobility. And there are many strong people in this sea who have devil fruit abilities. 3 of the 3 emperors in One Piece 4 emperors have devil fruit abilities. For example, Kaido of the Beast Pirates is a user with the fish fruit ability. Anti is a person with soul fruit ability. The strongest man, Whitebeard, is the one with the power of the shock fruit. Even the 3 marine generals are devil fruit users. General Aokiji is a user with frozen fruit abilities. General Akainu is a rock berry fruit user. General Kizaru is a user with the shining fruit ability. Those who can control sea water are their natural enemies. A devil fruit that can control water has never appeared, or there may not be one. Because it's so invincible. However, there are people on this island now who have such abilities. Such abilities can be said to be the natural enemies of all devil fruit users. There is definitely a big secret here. Who is that father? How can one give birth to a child with such abilities? Even Princess Vivi thought about what would happen if her ability to control water was used against Crocodile. Although it is said that sea water can restrain Crocodile, because Crocodile is a user with the ability of the Shasha fruit. Only those who are domineering can fight against strong men. Of course, properties like water that can restrain sand can also be used. But her country, the Kingdom of Alabasta, is a desert country with scarce water resources. After using dancing powder, it becomes even more dry. There is no water to control it. I wonder if I can defeat Crocodile against him. As for the flying thunder god technique, she didn't understand it a bit, but she felt it was very powerful. Even Roger realized the horror of this ability. Before he became One Piece, he fought at sea with many big pirates. That was a naval battle. All around is the sea. If you meet such a person who can control the sea water, although he is sure to be able to fight, there is no doubt that he is a big trouble and a very difficult character. He even felt that someone who could control sea water was undoubtedly more suitable for the title of One Piece than him. Such people seem to be born kings of the sea. How could someone have such terrifying abilities? To be honest, this was beyond his knowledge. It feels like the world has become a little abnormal. As far as he knew, there was no such devil fruit in the Devil Fruit Illustrated book. Nor did he believe that such a fruit existed in the world. Because this kind of ability is so heaven-defying, this world is an ocean world. Someone with the ability to control water basically means they are invincible. The young man wearing blue laminated armor just nodded with his brothers and sisters and left. At this time, another young man wearing red clouds and black clothes, with an expressionless face and orange hair came over. He knew that Minato had sneaked out before, so he was very worried. After all, the outside world was too dangerous and there were pirates everywhere. But since his father sent Xiaowu out to find Minato, he was naturally relieved because Xiaowu was very strong. He came closer and asked with concern. Minato, did you encounter any danger when you sneaked out this time? This world is very dangerous. Don't do such things again. Minato looked at Brother Pain in front of him and remembered his previous experience at sea. Before finding Brother Snake, it was considered a near miss, and there was no pressure. But after finding Brother Snake, I met Grandpa Koshiro, who was a great swordsman. He was very powerful in swordsmanship. But it's no wonder he took action in anger. After all, he and others dug out his daughter's ashes. She is also a girl herself. If she hurt herself, her father would be angry, so she understood this feeling. But what she encountered later made her very angry. The subordinates of Shichibukai Doflamingo actually wanted to kidnap them as slaves, and also wanted to kidnap Nami and Nokigao, who she took back to her father. Later, she met the old man Garp, the marine hero, in Rog Town. He was really a difficult guy, which made her feel very aggrieved. Minato told his brother both of these things, with a displeased expression on his little face. After hearing this, Pain exuded a dangerous aura. He snorted coldly. Even if you dare to hurt my sister, good, then there is no need for Shichibukai Doflamingo to exist. Marine also wants to take my sister away, and they must be taught a lesson. Wait until I tell my father and I will go to sea with you to find trouble for them. Vivi was surprised. This person's aura is really strong. He was even colder than the person named Tobirama just now, and even gave her a feeling of superiority. Such people are neither strong nor weak. It seems that the little blonde girl had a conflict with Doflamingo. Now threatening to destroy Doflamingo. You must know that Doflamingo and Crocodile are both Shichibukai, so they should be great pirates of the same level. This really shocked her. This mysterious force was too terrifying. Of course she was happy. In this way, Crocodile also has no way to survive. But Dasky was panicked. Such a person was obviously stronger. If he attacked Marine, Marine didn't know how many people would die. As a Marine, she must explain it properly. She struggled desperately to break free, but to no avail. She was indeed very weak and couldn't even break free from the rope. Minato noticed something strange about this man. You seem to have something to say. Dasky nodded. Of course she had something to say, she couldn't just watch Marine being slaughtered. Minato looked at the guy. Then let me go. I won't make a big fuss, right? Because he was too noisy, he was tied up and his mouth was gagged. Dasky could only shake his head, indicating that he would not. Minato then gently removed the tape on her mouth. Suddenly, Dasky felt a sense of relief, took a few deep breaths, the feeling of being restrained was gone, and she was able to speak, and she quickly explained. Actually, Marine doesn't have any bad intentions. He just wants you to join Marine and become Marine's mainstay. There is indeed something wrong with the way I did it, and I apologize to you. After saying that, his body bent down. Make yourself appear sincere, otherwise it won't work. She knew that the person named Pain in front of her was terrifying, and she felt chilly just standing there. This is the person who makes her feel the most oppressive. Seeing her respectful attitude, Minato was still unhappy and muttered. How can there be such a thing? She didn't like Marine. She had heard that they were accomplices of the celestial dragons, and that Garp made her very frustrated and stressed. Pain saw his sister like this. Very well, if you dare to bully my sister, first we'll make Marine feel the pain. When Minato heard this, his anger suddenly dissipated a lot. Even though she was angry, she didn't want to destroy Marine. This brother's move can carry several floors with a bag of rice. It's really too powerful. I once took her flying in the sky to fry fish in the sea, and that move left a deep impression on her. Suddenly a big hole was blown out of the sea. It's too lethal. She said a little sheepishly. Brother Pain, although Marine is annoying, there is no need to go to this extent. That move was really terrifying. Nami couldn't help but asked curiously. How scary is this? A move that even Minato finds scary. Nami has seen many moves. The burned-out black flames, and the huge skeleton giant. As well as the filthy earth reincarnation of resurrected people, and the serpent summoned by Orochimaru. Dusky felt a strong sense of uneasiness. What kind of terrifying moves would such a person use? Marine wouldn't be in trouble, right? Minato looked at Sister Nami, gesturing with his hands to expand outwards, and explained. It's a type of ninjutsu called Super Shinra Tensei. It can punch a huge hole in the sea at once and level an island to the ground. It's very scary. Although Marine is hateful, I don't want my brother to do something like this. Besides, father does not allow this kind of behavior. Pain said grimly. This is the punishment they deserve, less than a hair on my sister's head. Vivi was really shocked. This man really cares about his family. This move of Super Shinra Tianzhong has vividly demonstrated its power. If an island is razed to the ground, wouldn't it be possible to raze the palace to the ground in one fell swoop? This destructive power is really terrifying, and of course his character is also very cold. Each member of this family is more terrifying than the last. This was even more terrifying than the black flames coming out of the eyes of the man named Itachi. Roger was speechless when he heard this in his heart. Can an island be leveled with one blow? Even he cannot achieve such destructive power. It is estimated that only the guy with Whitebeard can do it on the sea. After all, his earthquake fruit ability can trigger earthquakes and destroy an island. It should be no problem. But now that I am old, I probably can't do it anymore. In order to produce such a large-scale earthquake destructive force, Whitebeard himself would also be greatly damaged. Even if it could be used, I wouldn't do such a thing. Of course there are still people who can do this kind of thing, but they are not humans, but ancient weapons. Does he really want to complain that your brother is an ancient weapon in human form? If he hadn't seen a few people on the island before, he would definitely not believe it. Because this is beyond his knowledge. But after seeing it, he had to believe it. The person in front of him also showed a feeling that even he felt was superior. It was not an arrogant character, but a temperament. It feels like being like a god, overlooking all living beings. This should be no weaker than a young man wearing glasses. With this kind of destructive power, he really didn't know what to say. There was a horrified expression on Dasky's face. Is it actually possible to do such a thing? That would be terrible. There was no doubt in her heart that the other party couldn't do it. Now give her a terrifying sense of oppression. If that move is used to surpass Shinra Tensei, countless Marines will die. We must find a way to prevent this from happening. There is only one way now. The orange woman and the woman with short blue hair were going to be Minato's mistress, and Minato was very respectful to them and seemed very obedient. So there is only one way. After calming down for a moment, he said seriously. I am willing to marry your father and be your baby mother. Please spare Marine this time for my sake. Minato was a little surprised. Hey, if you are willing to marry my father, it seems that you are really my baby mother. This person is not very old either, almost the same age as Sister Nami. After thinking for a moment, he looked at Brother Pain. Brother Pain, since you are your future baby mother, let's let Marine go this time. When Pain heard this, it seemed that she was the concubine that Minato brought back to his father. Since it was his father's concubine, she could also be considered his baby mother. Okay, Just this once, if you dare to bully my sister again, I will make them feel the pain. Orochimaru didn't doubt his words at all. The brother in front of me has the Samsara Eye and is very powerful. After all, it is a level higher than Mangekyo Sharingan. He can be said to be the ninjutsu leader in the family. Below this level, it is difficult to compete with those brothers and sisters who possess Shinigami and hollow powers. This was also a pair of eyes he wanted very much. I wonder if his father would be willing to give it to him. When Dusky heard that he let Marine go, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. She felt it was worth sacrificing herself to protect Marine. If Marine is tortured by this person, his vitality will definitely be severely damaged. Then the pirates will become more and more arrogant, and the world will become extremely chaotic. This is fulfilling Marine's obligations. Then several people continued to walk forward. Pain also followed, because he needed his father's permission to go to sea to destroy Shichibukai Doflamingo. Although he promised to let Marine go, he didn't remember to forget the man who wanted to kidnap his sister and make him a slave. How brave. When he thought of this, it was like a fire was burning in his heart, and he would never let it go. The few people walked not far when another young man came over. This person was wearing black training clothes and a white feather fabric. He has a solemn appearance and short black hair. Even Aizen, who was always gentle towards others, had a hint of respect on his face. Brother. Even Pain, who had always been aloof, lowered his head. Brother. This is the eldest son in the family, possesses the strongest and oldest Zanpakuto in Shinigami energy, and is also the one with the strongest attack power among his brothers and sisters. The dark purple long knife on his waist released a flame that was hot enough to turn the place it scratched into ashes. Tiandao Pain felt that he was no match for this big brother. Even if he used Shinra Tenseng to deflect those terrifying flames, he could not stop the burning feeling, which made him very uncomfortable. Even Minato was panicked at this time and said respectfully, "Brother Yuanlujai. This brother takes his father's rules too seriously. Even she will be punished." Of course, he was to be punished by his father. Many people in the family had been punished by this man. Nami looked at this man and felt depressed. This man put too much pressure on him. Is this the eldest son of the family? It's terrible. Dasuki was also frightened. This man was more terrifying than Pain, as if he was a burning flame. Now even the aloof Pain had to lower his head. Such people are even more difficult to mess with. Each one was more terrifying than the other, and now she was glad for her decision just now. We can't let such a person become an enemy of Marine. Roger's face was expressionless, his perception was very strong, and he felt the terrifying fluctuations from this person. There is no doubt that he is even more terrifying than the young man wearing glasses, and he may not even be his opponent. He has this feeling. It's really a big departure. How could there be two such powerful people on this island? The other teenagers also have various weird abilities. The most important thing is how could these people be willing to remain unknown on an island? Why not go to sea and pursue your own freedom? Vivi was also shocked. There was no doubt that this man would definitely be able to defeat Crocodile if he faced him. Because the sense of oppression he gives people is really too strong. Genryusai looked at his sister and brother, Minato and Orochimaru. They ran away before and should have been punished, but he did not chase them out because his father was not allowed to go out. He looked at the two people and said sternly, "Going to sea privately, do you know it's wrong?" Minato and Orochimaru nodded in unison. "I know I was wrong." They looked like good babies, and they had no idea of excuse because it was their father's prohibition. And this eldest brother is the executor of his father's orders. After all, they did sneak out. Of course they had no intention of resisting. Joke. This eldest brother was able to easily take care of the two of them without using his Zanpakuto. He has also mastered the top conqueror's haki, one of the top powers in the world. Of course, there is the even more terrifying Zanpakuto Ryujin Jaka, which Orochimaru has seen before. From then on, I developed a fear of this elder brother. That move seemed to burn everything, even the air was distorted by the fire, and the space seemed to be filled with black smoke. I once saw this brother walking on the beach and was suddenly attacked by a Poseidon. The long knife released a terrifying flame and burned the entire Poseidon directly to ashes. Not even the bones were left. It was all ashes. This was a scene. Something that happens in an instant. According to Brother Aizen, this move is not his strongest move. His strongest move can rival the temperature of the sun. It is said that this move can directly burn the sea clean. Darling, this is really terrible. Summoning Roger to resurrect and regenerate himself is already a very impressive ability, but when compared with this brother, it is the difference between fluorescence and bright moon. Yuan Lujai saw that the two younger brothers and sisters had a good attitude in admitting their mistakes, and was about to punish them. The lowest level would be solitary confinement. At this moment, Aizen stopped him. Brother, I have to take them to see their father. Let's talk about the punishment later. Minato breathed a sigh of relief. If she had begged her father, she would not be punished. Her father dotes on her the most. Of course, for such a strong elder brother, only his father's words can change his mind. Yuan Lujai had to agree when he heard this. His father's words were orders. But this little guy Minato would definitely beg his father to spare him. It is estimated that this time it will be terrible again. Although my father has issued various bans, there are always some people who disobey recently. In fact, my father was not very strict in discipline. Of course he doesn't have any objections, just let it go. Then he left. After this person left, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief and no longer felt so depressed. Several people continued to set off under the leadership of Aizen. Soon we arrived at the other end of the island, in a luxurious courtyard facing the sea. There is a large garden inside, filled with all kinds of flowers. A man in white casual clothes was lying quietly on an armchair, with a sun umbrella beside him to block the sun. Blow the sea breeze and enjoy the rare tranquility. Of course he is Reinhard Estrella. Suddenly, his closed eyes opened because he felt a familiar breath coming back. It was Minato Orochimaru's aura, along with Pain and Aizen. Xiaowu had already reported to him that Minato was with Orochimaru. Tanwan also wants to stay outside for a while. He was naturally relieved. With Orochimaru's care, no one should be able to hurt Minato. He also learned from Xiaowu that he had used the Gui blade to become a blur and killed the world's #1 swordsman, Eagle Eye. He didn't quite believe it, even though his son had the 6-star template, Ulquiorra's template. But for now, it definitely does not have the power of the original owner. He had seen that kind of virtual power, and the attack it launched was quite powerful, but it was impossible to kill Hawkeye with one blow. After all, he is just a teenager, how could he be so ridiculously strong? Hawkeye is one of the top strong men in this world, probably only a little worse than Red Hair, one of the 4 emperors. So he thought Hawkeye would be fine. Furthermore, he actually didn't want to kill such a master of swordsmanship. He was not the one to kill. There is no grudge between the two parties. This time he sensed not only the breath of his own child, but also other strange breaths, including outsiders. He stood up and turned around to see who the outsiders were. I saw Nami, Nakigao, Daisuke, and Princess Vivi. They were actually these 4 girls. This is considered an acquaintance. Of course, Kuina, Orochimaru, this guy really resurrected her. But that's okay, he actually felt sorry for Kuina. A girl with a genius swordsman died young. I wonder what its future achievements will be. But what surprised him was why One Piece Roger was also resurrected. Wearing a red coat, this big beard, and thick hair, isn't that what I have seen before? In fact, he didn't pay much attention to the big secret treasure. There were just some treasures inside. It is estimated that there may be historical truth. It's nothing more than how despicable the Tianlong people are. They are not nobles of the world at all, and they are not worthy of such a status. On the contrary, it may be a traitor or a plunderer. As a time traveler, he knew that he had betrayed Joy Boy or was an invader from the moon. Then there will be actions to execute people for studying historical texts. For example, the famous academic city of O'Hara was destroyed. There must be a truth that is unfavorable to them hidden behind it, so they must destroy it and maintain their rule. After all, this is a hot-blooded series, and bosses like the Celestial Dragons will definitely be defeated by the protagonist. There is no doubt about this. However, he has no great interest in defeating the Tianlong people, although he does not like these people. But he doesn't want to do such troublesome things. After all, the Tianlong people can't affect his leisurely life at all. Unless it gets on your own head. At this time, Minato ran over quickly and hugged Reinhardt's thigh tightly. Father, Brother Genryusai wants to punish me and Orochimaru, can you let us go this time? I brought back Nami and Sister Nokigao for you, and Orochimaru brought back a female marine and a good-looking woman for you. Reinhardt looked confused. Is this what Minato and Orochimaru brought back to be their concubines? He actually brought back Wong Luffy's navigator Nami. Without Nami's help, could Luffy still travel smoothly? Of course, this worry is a bit unnecessary. They will always find the right person. But looking at Princess Vivi, whose body was tied up with a rope and her mouth was sealed, she probably wasn't abducted by force. This left him speechless. When Nami and Noki looked at Minato's father, they didn't have the frightening fluctuations of the young men and boys just now. He was not cold, or majestic. Handsome looking. Their first impression of it was very good, and they felt very comfortable and emotional just by looking at it. They are very happy to marry such a person. Dasky was also surprised that the father of this little blonde girl turned out to be so handsome and kind. It looks very gentle. In fact, it is not impossible to marry him and become a concubine. She recalled the little blonde girl's words that she was lucky to marry her father. It really makes sense. His personal strength, appearance, and temperament are all top-notch. Maybe it's really lucky. Vivi also felt relieved. Her wish really came true. She is handsome, strong, gentle, and a head taller than herself. This is the other half she's been waiting for. Not to mention, marrying the other person can also gain the protection of the other person's power and save your country. So she felt a little relaxed and a little excited now. One Piece Roger looked suspicious. Because he used the perception of the breath of all things, but he couldn't feel this person's powerful breath at all. Very ordinary. But he is not naive enough to think that this person is an ordinary person. It can only be because of its hidden aura. In other words, it is 100% control over its own power, so it is not noticed by others. This ability shocked him a bit. In this sea, you can actually tell whether a person is strong just by looking at his breath. A strong person will never be able to completely hide his aura. That kind of temperament, as well as the field of its own powerful strength, automatically emanate from the inside out. Even if a strong man pretends to be lazy and decadent, people with strong perception can still feel the power contained in his body. When Kuina saw such a man in white, he had an indescribable charm and always felt a little special. Although there is ordinariness everywhere, this ordinariness is not as ordinary as ordinary people. What a strange feeling. I asked him to teach me swordsmanship, but I don't know if he will agree to it. Reinhardt stretched out his big hand, held Minato's little head, and asked. Were these 4 people abducted by you too? Princess Vivi is still tied up. There were also traces of ropes on Dasky's clothes, indicating that she must have been tied up as well. Nami and Nuauchi were taller, but there was no difference. But why do you suddenly want to marry yourself? Minato hugged his father's thigh tightly and said with a smile. No. Then she told her father everything that happened when she went to the East China Sea to meet Nami, agreed to help her deal with Colonel Mouse, married her father, expanded the family, and later traveled with Brother Snake. Reinhardt's eyes narrowed after hearing this. This is what it turned out to be. Nami married her because of her agreement with Minato. Nuo Chigao will follow, and he also wants to resurrect his mother. This is understandable. After all, he understood the plot and knew that these 2 people deeply loved their mother, Belmir. Princess Vivi was arrested because she had a conflict with her son. The same goes for this Marine Tashiki. But he didn't expect that after his son Ruatu was reincarnated and summoned Roger, he would have a battle with the Marine hero Garp in Roger Town. Wouldn't something like this cause a sensation in the entire sea? He didn't want to be the center of attention in the sea and stare at Orochimaru. Orochimaru felt his father's stern gaze and bowed his head obediently. Sure enough, my father would be unhappy if something like this happened. There is an uneasy feeling in my heart. Will your work go to sea this time in vain? There is probably no reward for bringing Kuina back. Reinhardt turned his head and looked at Nami, Nokigao, Princess Vivi, and Dusky. These 4 are undoubtedly the top beauties on the sea. I already have a pretty plump body now, but this is not the top yet, it will be even more top-notch in the future. But now he no longer has the need or the disdain to use despicable means to let a beautiful woman give birth to a child for him. He now has a woman who truly loves him, and she is also the best in the world. If it's not first rate, he won't want it, so he's not willing to coerce these people. He spoke. Nami, the agreement you made with Minato doesn't count. You can go back without fulfilling the agreement. Nokigao, although I sympathize with you for losing your mother, the resurrection technique cannot be used at will. Birth, old age, illness, and death are all impermanent. He has always been unwilling to disturb the laws of nature. Nami became anxious when she heard this. Although what the father said makes sense. Yes, children's words generally don't count. But she didn't want to. She also wanted to have a child with the man in front of her. Said eagerly. The agreement stands, I came here voluntarily. Not only would she be able to give birth to a wonderful child by being married to this man, but he would also make her feel very happy. This was a feeling she liked. She was sure that this was of course a liking for the opposite romance, and she was no longer a child. This was the first person in the sea who made her feel like this. Nuo Chigao saw this and said quickly. I also really want to. She was already at the age where she should be looking for a man. She was sure that she would never find a better man than the man in front of her. Finding a man is the most important thing for a woman. If you miss it, you will definitely regret it for life. Although she agrees that the other party cannot use the resurrection technique casually, it does go against the laws of nature. But if she becomes his concubine, I feel like I can still ask him to make an exception. This is very possible. Reinhardt was a little surprised. Is this voluntary? Are you sure? Nami and Nuo Chigao breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that he had no intention of driving them away. It seemed that there was still hope, and smiles appeared on their faces. Sure. Then you can stay. Reinhardt could only agree. Since they are all voluntary, of course he will not force them to leave. Nami and Nokigao cheered inwardly. That's great, not only can you marry such a handsome and affectionate man. The two looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. Although it is not mentioned now, it will be after she becomes his concubine. She will definitely use various tricks to ask him to resurrect her mother. Nami herself is quite confident. She used to be a pirate and often used honey traps. Of course, they were not taken advantage of by those people. Just a little rhetoric made them dizzy. This time I will show all of myself and try to make him happy. By then, he might be able to resurrect his mother. You can even get a large amount of money for her. She still likes money very much, and she feels very comfortable just looking at it. Such a handsome man and a lot of money. Her future life will definitely be very comfortable, and her offspring will be very powerful. After raising them up, you can also let them go out to make money. If you have the ability in this world, you can make money. For example, it is definitely not illegal to rob pirates. The future is really bright. Minato saw that his father asked Nami and Nokigao's sister to stay on the island. He looked at his father helplessly. Father, since Nami and sister Nokigao are staying on the island, can my punishment be cancelled? Reinhardt pinched her little face. Okay, just this once. You are too young. It is still too dangerous to go to sea. Fortunately, I was with Orochimaru this time. Fortunately, Doflamingo didn't go to the East China Sea personally and didn't meet Hawkeye. None of these people were opponents that Minato could defeat. A happy expression appeared on Minato's face, as long as there was no punishment. Reinhardt turned to look at Dasky, who had binding marks on his body. It was impossible for this person to be voluntary, right? Da-si-chi, if you don't want to, I can let you go. Don't worry, I won't let Pain get into trouble with Marine. Although the way to let his daughter join Marine is very wrong, he will not kill anyone. His own child, Pain, has the Samsara Eye, and is planning to use the Super Shinra Tensei to deal with Marine, but that move is too lethal. Although Marine is the lackey of the Celestial Dragons, he does protect some areas of the world. So there is no need to kill. Of course, it is not worth joining. After all, he is the loser of the Tianlong people. What a joke is he asking his son and daughter to protect the Tianlong people. Pain spoke up at this time. Father, isn't this bad? His tone was no longer condescending. If Dasky is not his baby mother, then there is no need to give her face. Marine must be taught a lesson. Even Marine can't bully the Estrella family. Reinhardt waved his hand. Forget it. If you kill Marine, who will protect the civilians in this world? Marine cannot protect all parts of the world, but it protects peace in many areas. At least the place they protect is definitely better than the areas where most pirates live. When Pain saw his father say this, he could only agree, but there was another person he was unwilling to let go. Father, that Shichibukai Doflamingo, please allow me to extinguish him. He actually wants to kidnap my sister and make her a slave. After saying this, unquenchable anger surged in his heart. The smile on Reinhardt's face disappeared. Human traffickers, this is the person he hates the most. If he still dares to touch his family, he has crossed his bottom line. Pen, please take Xiaowu and two of you with you. By the way, don't hurt innocent people. The moves of the two of them were really terrifying. Whether it is Super Shinra Tianzhong or the Black Void Flash, they are too lethal. If you don't pay attention, I'm afraid that the capital of the Kingdom of Dressrosa will be completely destroyed, which will inevitably affect innocent people. Naturally, he doesn't want to hurt innocent people. That is really a very vicious behavior. An excited look appeared on Pain's face. Okay, father, I'll go find Xiaowu now. Xiaowu is a very powerful brother, and we can definitely succeed this time with him. Of course, he will remember his father's orders and will not hurt innocent people. But he was not going to let go of the Don Quixote family, and he would kill as many as he could. Dasky was extremely surprised. Facing a terrifying powerhouse like Pain who can destroy an island with one move, Doflamingo may not be able to deal with it. I heard a new name this time, Xiaowu. He is probably a very powerful person. I am speechless. Is there anyone in this family who is not strong? However, Shichibukai was chosen by the world government, and is actually an ally with the world government. But Shichibukai and Marine are hostile forces, and she won't stop this. On the contrary, I was secretly happy. Another group of big pirates were eliminated, which is good for the world. But do you want to marry his father? Although she was willing to let her go and promised not to take action against Marine, she was of course relieved. It would be better for Marine not to provoke such a powerful family. This person is indeed not an evil person, but a kind-hearted person. In fact, she was a little attracted to this man. Compared with Smoker's messy hair, he felt that the man's hair in front of him was more stretched, shiny and clean. More temperamental. Just looking at it made her feel very comfortable, but Colonel Smoker always gave her a headache. She may never meet someone who is so attracted to her in this life. This was a perfect opportunity and she didn't hesitate any longer. I also volunteered. Reinhardt couldn't believe his ears. Are you sure? Is my charm really that great? Dasky nodded affirmatively. All right. Then you stay on the island. Reinhardt certainly wouldn't turn him away. He looked at Princess Vivi again. She was tied up and her mouth was sealed. It couldn't be voluntary. Walking up to her, with a wave of her hand, the rope on Princess Vivi's body broke and fell to the ground. Gently peeling off the tape on her mouth. Princess Vivi, I'm sorry, my child captured you, and I will have someone send you back. Nami was a little surprised when she heard this. Is this person actually a princess? No wonder he is so temperamental and good-looking. Vivi was surprised. I have never revealed my identity, how could the other party know? This is really powerful. But she would not leave just like that, she said seriously. I also stayed here voluntarily. This is what the lover of her dreams looks like, and he doesn't force her to stay because of his beauty, which shows that the other person's heart is not bad. The female Marine was attracted to him, even though she was resisting before and even looked like she was sacrificing herself. Just follow. But everything changed after seeing real people. Of course she also changed, and such a man really attracted her. Reinhardt was very surprised. Even Princess Vivi is willing. Is it because of Shichibukai crocodile? Don't worry, I will send someone to kill him. It is not difficult for him to solve crocodile. Perhaps Princess Vivi agreed to stay on the island because of this. And his own child Minato kidnapped Nami. Maybe Luffy will not arrive in Arabiastan as in the original plot. Then civil strife will break out in this country, with countless casualties. This is not what he wants to see. Princess Vivi was really surprised. This man also knew that his country was being harmed by crocodile. Said that he would help him solve Crocodile. Her heart was filled with gratitude. She no longer wanted to leave. He is really handsome and a very nice person. It is impossible not to have a good impression of him. With a smile on his face. I stay here voluntarily and want to be your concubine. Reinhardt was a little dazed. If you say this, the other party will be willing to stay. Then he had no reason to refuse. There is one more beautiful woman from the sea who can give birth to a child for him. What is there to say no to? Okay, then you stay, I will send people to kill Crocodile later, don't worry about your country. Crocodile is a user with the Logia Swish Devil Fruit ability. It seems particularly invincible in the first half of the Great Channel. Because it can be naturalized, Haki cannot hit him without being armed. In the first half of the Great Channel, there are still very few strong men who can be armed and domineering. But his children will. He was thinking about who to send. In the end, I decided to let Tobarama go. He not only knows armament Haki, but also water style. Although the country of Alabasta is a desert, ninjas can only control water in nature. If there is no water in nature, you can use your own chakra to create water. He happened to be completely restrained against Crocodile. Of course, it's not just that, he will also let Itachi go with him. This kid Itachi is really a genius. He obtained the template of Uchiha Itachi, a 4-star figure in the ninja world, who has successfully mastered the Mangekyo Sharingan. He knew the 2-eye techniques, the left eye Genjutsu Tsukuyomi, and the right eye the strongest fire-style Amaterasu. These 2-eye skills can undoubtedly solve Crocodile. In this case, everything is foolproof. Vivi felt very happy. He is indeed a good man. He has already solved his most troublesome problem before he got married. Now the danger in his own country, Alabasta country, is about to be lifted. But she wanted to see such a scene with her own eyes. After I get married, can you follow me back to Alabasta country? Sure. Reinhardt has nothing to refuse. Princess Vivi is such a princess who cares about her country. In the original plot, he did not board the Straw Hat Pirates pirate ship because of national affairs. He planned to get married quickly and let her go back with helpers. For this country, every moment someone may starve to death or die in conflicts. Since he is his own person, he naturally wants to help him solve his troubles. He looked at Minato. Take Nami, Nakigao, Princess Vivi, and Daisuke to find a house to rest. They all look tired. It takes a few days to get here from the East China Sea. There are naturally many rooms on the island. Minato immediately left with 4 people. Let's talk about her learning armament Haki later. Aizen walked up to his father at this time and reported. Father, this guy Dio took Jotaro out to sea. A trace of panic appeared on Reinhardt's face. This is his most naughty child and also his most rebellious child. Even he dared not accept it, thinking that he could defeat himself with the world's substitute, but he didn't know that his substitute was stronger. This system is very good. It allows you to have more power than your children, so you don't have to worry about them rebelling against you. If this child goes outside, he will definitely cause a scene. It will even be targeted by the world government. He is not afraid, but he does not want the world government to disturb his happy life. The world government could just let Luffy and the others work hard to fight, so why should he bother with it? After this, his work will start to get busy again. After all, there are 4 children, and of course he will start giving birth to children. Aizen continued to suggest. Father, actually it's a bit boring for my brothers and sisters to stay on the family island. I wonder if we can relax the rules and let them travel around the world. Reinhardt was stunned for a moment. It's like his kids have really grown up. I have always been afraid of trouble and would not let them go out. Such rules seem a bit too restrictive. In fact, this kid Dior is 15 or 16 years old, which is the age when he is most energetic. If he stays on the island all the time, it will definitely be very boring. Unlike me, I feel very comfortable just staying on the island and enjoying the sea breeze. Although I don't like this child very much, since it is my own child, I must give them the treatment they deserve, not their own slaves. Maybe it's time to let go. But he has so many children with extraordinary abilities. If they go to sea, wouldn't the sea be shocked and destroyed? Because the child he gave birth to has the character template of the top strong man in the Shinigami world and the Hokage world, of course he also has top power in this world. After thinking about it for a while, I finally had to let them out. Otherwise, he would be busy on the island, and it would disturb his tranquility. Of course, he still had to warn him. Aizen, what you said makes sense. Just let Dio go to the sea. I want you to tell him not to cause too much trouble. Aizen had a hint of a smile on his face. Okay, father, I will inform Dio properly. Can other brothers and sisters also go out? Reinhardt nodded. Go ahead. When your children grow up, they will always be able to fly high. Let's appreciate the beauty of this sea. Okay, father, I will rule over my brothers and sisters. After saying that, he left. After Aizen left, there were only Kuina, Roger, and Orochimaru. Reinhardt looked at Orochimaru. You really made a big splash. No news can compare to the news of One Piece Roger's resurrection. This man that the world government fears. The person that pirates admire the most. I don't know how many people will gather in Rog Town. Fortunately, he moved his home to a windless zone early, so no one should be able to find this place. Orochimaru felt a little scared and explained. I didn't intend to let Roger take action. But that marine hero Garp wanted to capture my sister. If Roger didn't take action, I might not be able to come back. Reinhardt sighed helplessly. Orochimaru, a kid who knew about the family ban, would not make too much noise, but this time it was really an accident. Forget it, how else can I punish him? Okay, forget it this time, but stay in the family for a while and don't go out and cause trouble again. Now that news of Roger's resurrection is spreading across the sea, Orochimaru will definitely be dug up. Not only will they be targeted by pirates, but also by the world government and marine. Orochimaru nodded repeatedly. Okay, father. Father, it's great that you don't punish yourself. Roger raised his own questions at this time. Are you Joey Boy? Reinhardt was a little surprised to ask himself this question. But he knew who was Joey Boy, Straw Hat Luffy who ate the devil fruit and awakened the form of sun god Nika. I'm not. Roger felt as if this was indeed the case. Joey Boy is the man who changed the world. I will not live in seclusion on this island, take in women, give birth to children, and live a leisurely life. The man in front of him is more like a strong man who avoids the world. He said proudly. Then my child would be Joey Boy. He is One Piece, and his son is Joey Boy who can change the world. Reinhardt was a little stunned when he heard this. Roger refers to his child as Joey Boy, isn't that Ace? He's not Joey Boy. Roger was a little surprised. Isn't his One Piece son Joey Boy? He sounded like he knew who Joey Boy was. Could it be that he has been to Loftrue and knows the truth of history? Most of the world's historical texts have been destroyed by world government. Joey Boy also disappeared from history. Only Ravdru has a blank 100-year history. Have you been to Loftrue too? Reinhardt shook his head. No, but can you tell me the historical truth about the 100-year blank period? I guess that Joey Boy will reappear in the world in the future, defeat the world government with his friends, end the rule of the Draco, and then liberate the world, right? Roger was shocked when he heard it. Unexpectedly, the other party knew most of the information even though he had never been there. He had no need to hide anything and told the man in front of him everything about Ravdru. Ravdru truly retains the historical truth of a blank 100 years. The more concrete truth is, Joey Boy is the king of a huge kingdom with advanced technology in ancient times. One day, he suddenly had a sudden impulse and wanted to realize the plan of a world paradise for all mankind. Build an ideal world. He held the idea of equality, but the kings of 20 countries who had slave ideas betrayed him. They don't want their status to be revoked. The two parties fought and finally failed. But Joey Boy's last words were that his will would return again and fulfill his promise. Will be reawakened in the descendants of the D family. The recorded history is still relatively rough and does not mention the names of the original 20 kings. But the descendants of those 20 kings are the current Tianlong people. Reinhardt was a little emotional when he heard the truth. No matter where in the world there are people who pursue equality. The celestial dragons are indeed not descendants of the creator, they are just bragging. This is just rhetoric to make them look superior. But they succeeded, killed their opponents, became celestial dragons, and became world noble. Kuina never expected that she could hear the biggest secret in the world. Is this the truth of ancient history? It turns out that someone once had such a great goal. If realized, the world would be different from now, but a world of equality and peace. In her eyes, the celestial dragons are no longer so aloof and irresistible nobles, but just a group of nobles who like to enslave others. Orochimaru heard the truth about the 100-year gap in history, remembered the revolutionary dragon, and said he wanted to meet his father. He almost forgot, knowing that his father would definitely not agree, but he still reported it truthfully. Father, when I came back, I met the revolutionary Long. He wanted to meet you. Maybe he wanted to win our family into joining the revolutionary army. Reinhardt shook his head. Forget it, don't worry about it. Some people would do such a thing as resisting the celestial dragons. He doesn't have to worry about it. Instead of living such a wonderful life, I will fight against it. Orochimaru looked like it was true, his father would not do such a meaningless thing. Roger continued to ask at this time. That's it for the blank 100 years of history. I wonder who your Joey Boy is. Reinhardt said calmly. Joey Boy will appear in this era. He is Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy, Ace's sworn brother. Ace will die to save Luffy in the future. Roger was shocked. His face completely changed. His own son would die, and he died to save Joey Boy, and his pupils were widened. No father would want this to happen. This man seems to really know what's going to happen in the future. How did he die? Reinhardt explained. Ace's true identity was discovered to be the son of One Piece. He was caught and then publicly executed by the world government at Marine headquarters. Luffy went to save his brother and rescued his brother, but when he was escaping, he blocked a fatal blow for his brother. Roger lowered his head and said nothing. He didn't doubt the authenticity of this matter. The man in front of him was very capable and he didn't know the future. Just like the Haki of Insight, if it is developed to the extreme, it can even predict the future. Now is not the time to care about the other person's ability, but that his son will die in the future. This made him feel very uneasy. He bent his knees and knelt on the ground, his hands lying on the ground, and his head lowered to the ground. This must be the meaning of his resurrection, and the only way at hand is to ask this person. He saw that the man didn't care what happened to the world. Of course, you have to save your own children too. Please let me save my child, please. Reinhardt fell silent. Luffy and Ace are both members of the D family, descendants of Joy Boy, a family of resistance and a family that liberates the world. He's not a ferocious pirate, but he can be saved. Of course, he will definitely not take action, and he has nothing to do with Ace. It might be very interesting if One Piece Roger participated in the war on top. He once watched a short film. Whitebeard summons One Piece Roger to join the war on top. Wouldn't that be quite interesting? Now there is a chance for it to happen. Okay, I will let Orochimaru summon you to the Marine headquarters battlefield when the time comes. A look of gratitude appeared on Roger's face. Extremely grateful. The man gave himself a chance to save the child. Reinhardt said calmly. Then just wait quietly while Orochimaru takes him down. Orochimaru directly formed a seal with his hands, a smoke was generated, and Roger disappeared on the spot. After Orochimaru summoned One Piece Roger back to the sealed space. Looking at his father. Father, I resurrected Kuina this time. Is there any reward? This is the purpose of summoning Kuina, which is to please his father and give him Mangekyo Sharingan. But he did make a fool of himself, so don't even think about the reincarnation eye. But if it was only Mangekyo Sharingan, he would be satisfied. Reinhardt stared at him. Do you still want a reward? Resurrecting One Piece Roger will even make him the target of the world government. He doesn't want this kind of trouble. After Orochimaru realized his father's attitude, it seemed that there was no chance. I can only find a way next time. After Orochimaru left, Reinhardt looked at Kuina. This person can be regarded as a pity among pirates. She has a high level of swordsmanship at such a young age, and can even press Zoro, the top swordsman in the future world, to the ground and rub her against her. This is enough to show her great potential. But in the world of pirates, where people are generally physically strong, it is a bit funny to die after falling down the stairs. Kuina looked up at Minato's father in front of her. Heard what he said before. The art of resurrection cannot be cast casually. Life, old age, illness and death are all impermanent. But she really wanted to live again. He bent down and asked with a sincere tone. Please let me truly resurrect. Reinhardt sighed. It would be a pity to die so young, so let's break the rules for her. Okay, that's as you wish. Kuina looked up at the man excitedly. Extremely grateful. Reinhardt's eyes narrowed, and circles of lines appeared in his black pupils, with a lavender light. This is the template for Pain, a 5-star figure in the ninja world that he obtained after giving birth to his child Pain. Of course it's Pain who has the Samsara Eye. The Samsara Eye is from the Sage of Six Paths series, so it is lavender. These eyes have the highest pupil power and can control life and death. Automatically masters 5 changes in chakra properties, masters the power of creation, and has the ability to destroy the world. His child Pain now only masters the Super Shinra Tensai move. It can be regarded as mastering a little bit of the ability of the Samsara Eye. But Reinhardt completely mastered the power of these eyes. Due to the panel bonus he received from giving birth to a child, he gained unparalleled physical fitness and vitality. Even if he uses the art of reincarnation, he will not pay the price of his life. He crooned. The natural art of reincarnation. Kuina's body was glowing brightly, and the dirt on her body began to break into pieces and fall off, revealing her white skin. After a while, Kuina had a surprised expression on her face and couldn't help but touch her face. It felt warm and felt. After touching my left chest, there was still a heartbeat. Not only that, she felt like her breathing was a lot faster now. She was breathing. When Wutu was reincarnated before, he didn't even feel that he was breathing. I was extremely surprised. I really came back to life. Reinhardt said with a smile. Yes, of course you came back to life. Kuina's face was full of excitement. She had one more thing to ask of her. I wonder if I can learn swordsmanship from you. I want to become the best swordsman in the world. She has always had this drive. I just don't know if I am a bit greedy like this, but only by following people like this can I have a chance to achieve it. Reinhardt was a little surprised. To be the best swordsman in the world is such a lofty goal. Of course he has very powerful swordsmanship. Shinigami not only masters the power of Zanpakuto, but also has powerful swordsmanship. He has gained a lot of Shinigami panels, so his sword skills are naturally very good. Kuina was very excited and almost couldn't believe it. Is it really okay? This man treats me better than his father. He didn't beat himself up like his father did, saying that women were not suitable for practicing swordsmanship, and he had the idea of looking down on women. She wants to prove that women are not weaker than men. Reinhardt said with a smile. Of course it's true, you can call me teacher from now on. It feels good to have a female apprentice. He thinks about how to teach Kuina. In fact, her current body is really too small. She is just a child. There is no way she can become the world's #1 swordsman. So he said. If you want to pursue the peak of Kendo, your current body is too small. I have a way to make you grow up, at least to an adult size. Are you willing? The Samsara Eye controls the power of yin and yang, has extraordinary abilities, can heal injuries, and can also promote growth. Of course he hesitated. Kuina now looks like she is 7 or 8 years old, with the mentality of a child. I don't know if I can adapt to an adult body. Kuina was shocked when she heard this. Does the teacher still have this magical power? Of course she has to grow up. Zoro is an adult now. She's just a little kid. It is simply impossible for a child to reach the peak of Kendo or anything like that. She knew that this was 10 years after her death. In fact, at this point in time, she should have grown up. Agree. Teacher, I am willing. Reinhardt nodded. Okay, that's as you wish. He reached out and took Kuina's little hand. A force of yin and yang burst out from the body, and then penetrated into Kuina's body through the arm, promoting the growth of her body. Kuina felt a wave of heat pouring into her body. Her whole body was itchy and felt hot. A little uncomfortable. Gradually, she felt as if her body was being stretched continuously, with her arms, thighs, body, and even breasts all expanding. This made her feel very uncomfortable for a moment, and she couldn't help but breathe heavily. Soon after, this feeling disappeared. She was sweating heavily all over her body and was very tired. He raised his palm in disbelief and looked at it. Is this an adult's palm? I have really grown up. Looking up from my snow-white thighs, I could see that my pants had already been swollen and were just about to fall off. His face suddenly became surprised. He hurriedly grasped the pants tightly with his right hand to prevent them from breaking. Of course, the top he was wearing was already bulging, and it was about to break into two pieces. He hurriedly spread out a hand and pulled his clothes back. She was afraid that her clothes would burst. His face was very red. Teacher, please don't look at me like this. Although she was only 7 or 8 years old when she died, she was a girl and had long been developed and sensible by that time. A girl's body cannot be shown to men casually, not even by teachers, not to mention that she has grown up now. Reinhardt turned his head silently. He has seen bigger, whiter and rounder ones. Kuina has grown to 18 years old. She is indeed very talented as a woman, even bigger than Nami. Of course, it looks like an enlarged version of Kuina. Kuina watched her teacher turn away, and the shyness in her heart was reduced, but this look was still too embarrassing. The small children's clothes and pants were almost bursting, but luckily they were pulled with hands to prevent them from falling off. Teacher, can you give me some suitable clothes? It's really impossible to see people like this. Reinhardt pointed to the house next to him and said. Go to the house and look for some practice clothes. There is hot water inside. Just turn the switch to turn it on. As a modern man, of course he transformed his home into a livable place with running water and solar energy. So his life here is quite comfortable. Okay, teacher. Kuina held her clothes tightly with her left and right hands and walked forward faster. But when I was accelerating, I suddenly heard the sound of tearing fabric, so I could only slow down and be more cautious. I was afraid that my clothes and pants would be completely torn apart, and I wouldn't be able to cover them up no matter how hard I tried. After arriving at the house, I rummaged through the closet to find clothes that suited me. Then they are all white practice clothes, which belong to the teacher. Now I have no choice but to wear the teacher's clothes. He took a set and a belt and entered the bathroom. Soon I found a device that could be rotated, which should be the switch the teacher mentioned. After turning it, water sprayed out from an unknown device above the head. It's hot, just right for washing your body. I instantly felt a sense of relief. My body was wet before, with sweat and some dirt. It made her body very uncomfortable. Must be cleaned. Tear the torn clothes apart, they are no longer wearable. It is impossible to wear such small clothes again. After throwing it aside, she frowned again. Because the thing she hates so much is too big. It's almost as big as my own face. It feels heavy and it is really a huge burden on my body. It's inconvenient for me to move, let alone swing my sword in the future. She was so negligent. I didn't tell the teacher. Such things don't need to grow up. It would be better if they were smaller, or even flatter. I'll talk to the teacher carefully later. Since the teacher can make it bigger, it should also be possible to make it smaller. Soon the body was thoroughly cleansed. The towel in the bathroom obviously belongs to the teacher, and now I can only use his to wipe my body. Then I put on the white training uniform, which belonged to the teacher. It didn't fit well. The sleeves were a little too long, so I had to roll them up, and the trouser legs also had to be rolled up. Don't know why. Wearing the teacher's clothes didn't make her feel uncomfortable, but it gave her a strange feeling. Big clothes are good, they don't feel like they are constrained. When I came to the garden outside, I saw the teacher lying down again. Kuina asked as she stepped aside. Teacher, can you make mine smaller or flatten it? This burden is so heavy. She didn't like it very much. It kept shaking. It completely affected her walking posture and balance. How can you practice cultivation if you carry something that looks like two big watermelons? His tone was a bit complaining. When Reinhardt heard his words, his expression changed. My stupid disciple, how can you have such a stupid idea? The flesh is already growing where it should be. This is what many women want but cannot get. Not everyone in this world is in good shape. There are also some who are fat, but their key parts are mediocre, which greatly reduces the charm of these women. My own disciple is not satisfied yet. Although this may affect her practice of swordsmanship, she is a woman first and then pursues her dreams. In other words, a woman's charm is the most important, followed by her strength. There was no way he would let his disciples make such a stupid decision. This is his responsibility as a master. He has the ability to help Kuina change, but he will never do it. Kuina lowered her head after listening to the teacher's words. The teacher made sense. She shook Big Thunder with her hand. This should be something many boys like, but she still didn't like it. Teacher, even if it can't be smoothed, can it be made smaller? Reinhardt shook his head and refused. No, if you really want to be the world's best swordsman and you are still worried about weighing 7 or 8 pounds, then your dream of being the world's best swordsman is just a wishful thinking. You have to know that the world's most powerful swordsman, who may be able to cut through mountains and seas with his sword, will never care about such trivial things. After hearing what the teacher said, Kuina woke up. What the teacher said makes so much sense. Yes, she has met many top experts along the way. I also saw the battle between marine hero Garp and Roger. The battle scene was really terrifying. The aftermath of the confrontation between the two sides had already made her unsteady, but fortunately she was far away. Otherwise, you won't even be qualified to watch the game. Although she has been clamoring to become the world's best swordsman, she has never known the strength of the world's best swordsman. But the strength of the world's #1 swordsman is not much different from that of One Piece Roger and marine hero Garp, and should be very close. So the world's best swordsman also has this terrifying power. In comparison, I really don't worry about these two things. Teacher, I was wrong. Harut then nodded with satisfaction. Just admit your mistakes. And Kuina realized at this time that she was just a weak woman. Maybe my father was right when he said that women are not suitable for practicing swordsmanship. Does she really have any hope of reaching the pinnacle of kendo? He couldn't help but ask his doubts. Teacher, can I really fulfill my dream of being the world's greatest swordsman? To be honest, if she thinks about it seriously now, she will feel that her thoughts are a bit too naive. They are really the thoughts of a child who has never seen the horror of the sea. And she also realized Zoro's courage to draw the sword against Hawkeye. If it were her, would she dare to draw a knife against Hawkeye? Reinhardt said with a smile. Who knows this? You can be sure that if you give up, it will really be impossible. However, as a teacher, I can provide you with good conditions to help you achieve your dreams. Reinhardt watched Kuina introduce the help he could give her. Exercise well in the future. I can heal your body, so you don't have to worry about injuries from training. In addition, I will also teach you some basic swordsmanship and armament and domineering. In fact, in the world of pirates, the basics of swordsmanship don't seem to be that important. Strong people are basically the most powerful, and whoever is more destructive is awesome. For example, kendo will be combined with armed haki and conqueror's haki. This can make the slash more powerful. The most powerful slash is probably the divine dodge that combines the sword slash with conqueror's haki. The destructive power is astonishing. I don't know if Kuina can awaken conqueror's haki. Only those with ambitions to become king can awaken conqueror's haki. This is a personal qualification issue, and Reinhardt cannot provide help. But the armed color is domineering. Armed colors can be learned. Even if you only have armed haki, you can combine it with sword slashing to produce extremely powerful slashes and become a world-class master. Kuina was shocked when she heard this. I didn't expect that the teacher had this kind of ability, so I could practice hard in the future and no longer have to worry about physical injuries or hidden injuries. She wanted to start training immediately to improve her strength. But before that, she had one more thing to do. Teacher, can you take me back to the East China Sea? I want to report to my father that I am safe before I come back to study. After his death, his father would definitely be very sad. If he can be resurrected again, he will definitely make his father happy and he will no longer be sad. Then follow your dreams. There was no way she could return to the East China Sea alone. This place is located in a windless zone, and you have to pass through it to reach the East China Sea. Of course she couldn't find her way back. She has never been to the sea at all, and of course the only person she can turn to is her teacher. Reinhardt had no intention of refusing. Okay, then just get used to your current body and I'll take you there tomorrow. By the way, bring Nami and Nokiko to revive his mother. Although the resurrection technique cannot be used indiscriminately, it can be used for one's own sake. This is also to allow these two people to stay by their side with peace of mind. Anyway, I must do it later, otherwise they will definitely blow the pillow wind on the bed. He had already noticed the little thoughts of these two people. Kuina said with great gratitude in her heart. Okay, teacher, now I will move, and get used to my body. Just walking around in the garden. To be honest, he is a little uncomfortable with this grown-up body. It's like a baby just learning to walk, with a sense of swaying. But this is your own body after all, you just need to get used to it. I can definitely overcome these two big thunders. You can't be restrained by a mere 7 or 8 kilograms of stuff. At noon the next day, Reinhardt called Nami and Nokigao, and said slowly. Let's go to sea today, and resurrect your mother by the way. Nokigao asked excitedly. Is it really okay? When her mother Belmir was resurrected, her life would be complete and she would have no regrets anymore. Even Nami looked at Reinhardt excitedly. What a good man, she helped him before she even used the beauty trap. But who is this person next to him? She is a head taller than herself, so she looks so much like the grown-up Kuina, which makes her very surprised. I am still a young girl who has just grown up, but this person feels like 2 or 3 years older than me. I couldn't help but wonder, was it Minato's father who made her grow up? This is the only explanation, not only resurrecting it, but also letting it grow up. Only Minato's father can do this kind of thing. I couldn't help but feel extremely shocked. Reinhardt nodded naturally. Yes. Let's go, follow me to the beach. We're going to go to sea next. The four of them walked towards the beach. Nami then approached Kuina and said. You are Kuina, right? I didn't expect you to grow so big without seeing you for a day. Kuina nodded. Yes, I am Kuina. The teacher used some tricks to make me grow up. Nami couldn't help but exclaimed. It's true, her man's methods are really amazing. Although she hasn't had romantic with him yet, she already regards him as her man. Even Nokigao exclaimed. This is what Kuina said, so there are no traces of previous ruptures on her body. It was completely lifeless before. But now I can feel that this is a living person. Then my mother can definitely do it too. The four of them came to the coast, but there was nothing there. Nami couldn't help but asked curiously. Isn't there a boat? How are we going to get there? Do we need to fly? In fact, she felt that Shui's father could even be resurrected, so if he could fly, what was impossible? Reinhardt shook his head. No, I don't plan to use flying. Next I will build a small boat. He clapped his hands directly and shouted. Wood-style wooden boat technique. A thick piece of wood was drilled directly into the sea water ahead, and then slowly deformed into a delicate boat. This is the Senju Hashirama template that he received after giving birth to his child Hashirama. Proficiency is naturally maxed out. Basically, you just shout whatever you want, and there is no need to form seals at all. Of course he can also build a submarine. This is a technique shared by Yamato, the wood-style ninja in the ninja world, but Reinhardt has never tried it. There is no need to worry about the hardness of this wooden boat. This is a creation condensed by his chakra and is very hard. His wood style is only stronger than Senju Hashirama's wood style. After all, he has many templates. In the ninja world, Senju Hashirama smashed Uchiha Madara's powerful Susanoo with wood. You must know that Uchiha Madara's powerful Susanoo is a combination of Eternal Mangekyo's Susanoo and Ninetales chakra. Its defensive power is extremely amazing. Of course, he hasn't been to the sea for a long time, so he just happened to take a trip to the sea. Kuina, Nokigao, and Nami were all shocked. You can build a small boat with just a clap of your hands. The method is really amazing. It seems as if it has the ability to create the world. After the three people boarded the boat, Reinhardt used his spiritual pressure to drive the boat forward quickly. The speed is very fast, like a sharp arrow passing by at high speed. Even if there are Poseidons in the sea, they find something passing overhead. They think it is delicious and want to take a few bites, but then it disappears with a sizzle. Nami was surprised to find out. This ship is no ordinary ship. Now moving at an extraordinary speed. No manual or other power is needed. This is another magical ability. Nami asked curiously. What ability is this? Reinhardt introduced without any concealment. This is a power called spiritual pressure, and it is driven by this power. Several people on the boat were surprised. They seemed to understand it after such an explanation. An unheard of power. Nami also realized that the ship was very strong, otherwise, if it sailed at such a fast speed, the hull would crack. This ship is much stronger than the Mary. Soon after, the boat passed through the windless zone and arrived at the East China Sea. Reinhardt looked at Nami. Next, it's up to you to point the way. First go to your village to resurrect your mother. Resurrection first summoned the soul of Belmel through the reincarnation of dirty soil. Nami suppressed the excitement in her heart and arrived at the East China Sea so soon. Take out the pointer. It finally came in handy. This is not the Grand Waterway, so the needle is no longer wandering around, and it clearly points to the North and South Pole. Then based on past experience, you can roughly judge the direction of the village. Also on the other side of the windless zone of the Great Channel, a small boat was sailing quickly. On it is a young man with thick golden hair, fair and almost transparent skin, and exuding an enchanting and charming aura. Wearing a black tights, gold jacket, and gold pants. Look at the companion next to you. Jotaro, the world outside is indeed vast. This breath of freedom is really pleasant. On the other side, Jotaro, who was wearing a black hat and black uniform, had the same excited look on his face. The island is really boring, it's just so big. After staying there for more than 10 years, he knew very well where there were more crabs under the rocks. That's why he followed his brother out. But there is still a vague feeling of uneasiness in my heart, that is, my father said worriedly. Brother Dio, what if our father comes out to catch us? If you're caught, you'll probably be locked up in a dark room. The number of times he was locked up in the dark room was relatively small, but Brother Dio was often locked up. One level takes a week or two. Jotaro didn't want to experience something like this again. When Dio heard this, his face showed anger. That lecherous old man, we are already 15 years old. Jotaro, you are also 14 years old. It is unreasonable to keep us locked up on that island. Jotaro's expression changed. Dio was still so disrespectful to his father. He deserved to be locked up. He spoke. Father is not an old man. Father is just worried about our safety. After all, there are indeed many dangers in the sea. There are so many pirates, and there is an unfathomable world government. Dio laughed and said, although the old man doesn't look old, he is already old. He is immersed in women's bellies every day and lives an ordinary and lifeless life. It's just the world government. What can those so-called big pirates do to us? Your abilities and mine are unrivaled in this world. Not to mention their strong physiques, they can easily destroy a large rock even without using their armament and haki. After using armament haki, the defense and attack power of the two people can be further enhanced. The important thing is that your body has more power. Dio has the ability to regenerate. After being injured, body tissues will continue to regenerate rapidly, but it only consumes a lot of vitality. Furthermore, he also has a substitute world, where he can pause time and move freely in the static time. What kind of terrifying power is this? Although he could only pause for 3 seconds, these 3 seconds were terrifying enough. Let the enemy be beaten by him like a wooden stake for 3 minutes. It is enough to defeat all powerful enemies in the sea. Of course, he had a hunch that the 3-second pause time was not his upper limit. As his body becomes stronger, he can also pause for longer periods of time. And of course his biological brother has the same mother. Jotaro also has a substitute platinum star. Of course, there is no need to say more about the attack power. He also has the same ability to stop time, but he can only pause for 1 second. Although he is not as good as himself, he is still a very strong partner, so he pulled him out. And it can be said that the time-stopping ability of the two of them has almost no CD. All that needs to be expended is physical strength. The big pirate doesn't take him seriously at all, not even the world government is afraid of him. No matter how deep the world government hides, there should be no one who can stand up to these two. There is no way a monster like Brother Genryusai will appear. His eldest brother couldn't pause his time even in the stand-in world. It's like I can't restrain him, what a monster. Jotaro was a little unhappy when he heard this and frowned. Brother Dio, don't say that. My father cares about my mother. Besides, if my mother doesn't intercede for you, I'm afraid you will be locked up in a dark room for a long time. He was not wrong. Although his father was usually very calm and did not get angry easily, it would be very scary when he got angry. Under the terrifying spiritual pressure released from his body, he couldn't even stand firmly. It is estimated that Brother Dio will be imprisoned for a few years, or even for a lifetime. If his father did not love his mother, Dio would really be punished so severely. Dio also realized that he had said the wrong thing. He still respected his mother very much. After all, she cared about him very much. He apologized. Okay, I said the wrong thing. Jotaro didn't pursue the matter any further. This was just his unintentional remark. He would not be so bold in front of his mother. No disrespect to my mother. Let's go back to the question just now. What if my father or some brothers come out to arrest the two of us? There are still people in the family who can support the two brothers. Needless to say, the father is still the elder brother Yuanlujai. That was someone that neither of their time-stopping abilities could restrain. That Aizen brother is also a terrifying person. The person who is number one in Genjutsu in his family. He is also a very difficult brother to deal with. Dio was silent for a moment after hearing this, and then laughed loudly. Don't worry, Jotaro, I have already thought of a strategy to deal with the old man. The first purpose of our trip is to the Nine Snakes Island in the windless zone of the Great Channel. To capture the world's most beautiful pirate, Boya Hancock, and then give it to his father, so that he can immerse himself in the gentle land. There should be no time. Come take care of us. Jotaro's eyes lit up. What he said made so much sense. His father still liked beautiful women. Boya Hancock, the most beautiful woman in the sea, a woman with such a famous name should be able to satisfy her father. At least it would prevent the two of them from being punished. That Boya Hancock seems to be one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and is very powerful, but in the hands of these two brothers, there is no chance of victory, not even a chance of escape. Not long after, Jotaro and Dio came to Nine Snakes Island. In the distance, the huge words, Nine Snake Island, were engraved on the mountainside. It is impossible not to recognize them. A huge capital city sits at the foot of the mountain. It seems that they have reached their destination. Along the way, they encountered many Poseidons, but without exception, they were defeated by the two brothers stand-ins, Platinum Star and the World. The two learned the armed hockey when they were on the family island, and they were able to cover the avatar with black armed hockey, making the avatar's attack and defense stronger. After all, the avatar can actually be counted as part of their body. If they are injured, the main body will also be damaged. To deal with ordinary Poseidon types, their substitutes are enough. Against the giant Poseidon type, Dio's avatar uses the time stop ability to attack for 3 seconds, which is enough to inflict fatal damage to the giant Poseidon type. It can be said that there is no danger on the road. The two of them jumped off the boat together and came to the shore. They walked forward and crossed the forest to reach the capital city. The Empress was probably there. And they didn't take a few steps before several female warriors emerged from the woods in front of them. They are naturally the warriors of Nine Snake Island, and they have been patrolling the seaside, guarding against pirates and human traffickers. Although the situation on Nine Snake Island is better now than before, pirates and human traffickers have always come to the island to abduct young female warriors. After Empress Boya Hancock ascended the throne, this situation became much less common. After all, the Empress was so powerful that no one would dare to invade here. One of the female warriors had short blonde hair slightly raised and had a quiver tied to the back of her thigh. The upper body is wearing a swimsuit made of animal skin, and the lower body is also a miniskirt made of animal skin, which is very cool. There is also a black and green snake hanging on her body. Other female warriors are similarly dressed, but most of them are holding spears and swords. Nine Snake Island is a pirate country that advocates the strong. Its people are tough, and most of them are good at fighting. This is also the reason why their daughter's country can stand in the windless zone of the Great Waterway. Relying on the natural danger of being located in a windless zone, of course it also needs the support of strong combat power. Suddenly, one of the brown-haired female warriors shouted in horror. These guys have flat chests, they're men. Catch them quickly. Margaret, the blonde woman in the lead, also had a surprised expression. Observe the two intruding humans carefully. It is true that the chest is flat and there is an Adam's apple, so he must be a man. The rule of the 9 snakes is to destroy the men after they break in. She directly grasped the small snake wrapped around her body, and the snake immediately turned into a tough bow. Then he pulled out an arrow from the quiver hanging on his thigh, drew his bow and aimed at the 2 men in front of him, and asked, "Why are you people here? These two people didn't look like good people. One of them had a weird smile, and the other one looked like a bad guy. Nothing good will happen when you come to this island, so you definitely don't live here. Dio ignored her, but turned his head happily and looked at his brother. Jotaro, it seems we are very lucky. As soon as we arrived, we met a blonde girl who looked pretty good and could just be taken back. Jotaro lowered his hat and glanced. It is indeed very good, and my father will probably like it. Playful blonde hair, good figure, not fat nor thin, just right. What's more, she has fair skin. Brother Dio, do you take action or do I? It's up to you to do it. Dio said slowly. Give your brother some actual combat experience. This can be said to be a real battle, the kind of life and death battle. This is not the family's kind of playhouse. In the family, brothers and sisters often fight against each other, and their father does not allow them to be too harsh. Jotaro tilted his hat and walked towards the female warriors. Margaret's face turned livid when she heard the conversation between the two people. What a human trafficker. In the past, there were often pirates who wanted to kidnap the female warriors or little girls on Daughter Island. This has improved significantly since the new King Hancock came to the throne, and no one dares to come again. Since these two people have such a purpose, then these two people should die. In fact, she is still very curious about men. After all, she is no longer a little woman. She had been thinking about why the island was full of women, so why could there be children? As far as she knew, women could not have children with women. She got some information from the older female warriors. That is, an adult female warrior goes to sea, and when she comes back, she is pregnant and can give birth to children. Of course, all the children born are girls. But she asked why those people could have children. But those people didn't say why. I can only reveal that I will know in the future. She vaguely knew that children would only come from the union of a man and a woman. In fact, this is something she discovered only by observing the animals on the island. For example, only when a male snake and a female snake combine can they lay eggs, that is, produce offspring. Similarly, only a male tiger and a female tiger can give birth to tiger cubs. It can basically be confirmed that only men and women can give birth to children. So when she met the legendary man before, if he wasn't a bad guy, she would have been merciful and let him escape. But there's no need now, these two are hateful human traffickers and deserve to die. She just bent the bow and drew the arrow. An arrow shot through the air towards the man in black. This is the archery skill that she has painstakingly practiced for more than 10 years. This person will definitely be shocked to the core. Several other female warriors were also looking forward to having this human trafficker shot through the heart. Traffickers should all die. But soon something surprised them. That is, a blue-purple giant suddenly appeared out of thin air in front of the man in black. He held the bow and arrow in his hand. At the same time, an extremely strong shock wave was generated, splashing a large amount of dust. This shows that Margaret's blow was definitely a powerful blow. But that figure did not move at all, which is enough to show its strength. Of course, they were not only surprised by this, but also full of confusion. What on earth is going on? Is this an ability like the three Empress sisters? The three Empress sisters possess special abilities and defeated the monster Gorgon in the Central Sea. Both sisters can transform into a giant snake, possessing terrifying destructive power. And their Empress has the ability to turn people to stone. According to legend, she was cursed by the defeated Gorgon. That's why the Empress ordered the royal city to be deserted when she was bathing and changing clothes, because anyone who saw the petrified eyes on her body would be petrified. Margaret was also surprised, but it didn't matter. She is the female warrior on this island, and her duty is to protect this country, and she must destroy these two people. Margaret quickly drew the bow and arrow from the quiver on her thigh, and then quickly opened the bow. Arrows shot out one after another with the sound of breaking through the air. The speed was so fast that only the afterimage could be seen in the air, and in a blink of an eye, he was in front of the blue giant. But just for a moment, the blue giant did not change his expression and caught all the arrows at a speed that was difficult to observe with the naked eye. Then he threw it to the ground. There was a crashing sound. Dior saw this scene with a smile on his face. His brother's stand in Platinum Star is really good. The speed is fast enough and the accuracy is high enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to catch these bows and arrows so easily. Sure enough, it was not brought in vain. He is not as ambitious as his father. He at least wants to make a name for himself in this world. What famous names are there on the sea? Such as the marine hero Garp, the 3 marine generals, and the marine Sengoku fleet admiral. These names all belong to the marine side. Of course he is not willing to join the marine. To actually protect those Tianlong people, this is really speechless. He felt that he was greater than the celestial dragons. Of course, with the name Shichibukai, it felt a bit weak and not what he expected. But he thinks things like the pirates and 4 emperors are pretty good. They are the kings of this world who rule one side. He is no one's subordinate, he only fights for himself. So he plans to become the 5th emperor in this world first, and when he is strong enough, he will become One Piece. He even became the king of the world and played with the world in his hands. To achieve the goal in your heart, of course you need helpers, and your brother is the best helper. He has the same type of substitute as yourself, and also has the ability to stop. If he becomes the 5th emperor, then it would be good for his younger brother to be the deputy emperor. Or it would be good for his younger brother to become the 6th emperor. Margaret's face was shocked when she saw this scene. No one had ever been able to catch her own bow and arrow like this. Still looking so at ease. It's not like she has never encountered strong enemies. Those powerful enemies do have ways to deal with her own bows and arrows, but they just dodge or shoot them down with weapons. It is absolutely impossible to catch your own bow and arrow with your hands. There is a huge difference between the two. This person's strength was far superior to hers and he shouted quickly. Let's take action together and catch these people. The other female warriors also understood, and their faces were very solemn. He picked up the weapons in his hands and surrounded Jotaro. Everyone launched terrifying attacks, such as stabbing with spears and slashing with knives. Surrounded from all sides, no matter how powerful this person is, it must be difficult to deal with it. But when Jotaro faced these people, he was not afraid, but instead became excited. Shouted loudly. Ola 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 ola, ola ola ola. The Platinum Star's fist launched a series of violent attacks. Countless fist images could be seen, and these powerful female warriors were blown away in an instant, and even the weapons in their hands were broken into several pieces. The female warriors fell heavily to the ground after being blasted dozens of meters away. He couldn't get up again. He had obviously been hit hard and was beaten directly and passed out. Margaret was horrified when she saw this scene. This man was as powerful as a god of war. At the same time, she felt resentful in her heart for daring to hurt her companions. Angrily, he wanted to take out the arrow from the quiver on his thigh, but when he touched it, he found it was empty and the arrow was gone. He could only take out the knife tied to his leg and look decisively at the man in black. Run. Even though she is strong, she has no reason to back down. There is no chance of winning against that terrifying blue giant, as long as it hurts his body. Since it relies on giants to launch such a strong attack, the main body should be very weak. Jotaro also noticed her intention, and the blue giant disappeared directly. Facing Margaret's dagger attack, he directly held her right arm with his left hand. At the same time, his right fist hit her stomach hard, instantly causing Margaret to feel severe pain and spit out a large mouthful of liquid. I couldn't believe it. How could the main body be so strong? This man is so scary. Then he rolled his eyes and immediately lost consciousness. At this time Dio came forward. Said with a smile. Jotaro, you did a good job, put her on your shoulders, and let me take action next. Jotaro nodded in agreement. It's really not easy to carry a woman on your back. The two of them then moved forward, and everyone they met was knocked down by Dio. There was basically no one who could hit him, but he didn't kill him. After all, the person he wants to rob is the Empress. Basically, his father will accept it. She is also his mother. Although she is not her biological child, it is best not to offend her too much. It's a pity that I didn't meet any suitable beauty along the way. A father who is not beautiful will definitely not like it, and of course he will not accept it. He was speechless in his heart. His father was really incompetent. He could capture all the beauties in this world just by conquering the world. He obviously has the ability to accomplish such a thing, but he just lives on an island and really has no ambition. If he was a lustful person, he would definitely do this. The two of them made such a big noise on the island, so naturally someone went to Nine Snakes City to report everything here to the Empress. A powerful enemy has invaded, or human traffickers. After the Empress heard the news, her face was as cold as ice, and her heart was filled with raging anger. Human traffickers. It was those human traffickers who abducted the three sisters to the celestial dragons and suffered a lot of torture. He was about to be whipped at every turn, leaving bruises all over his body. Fortunately, he escaped in the end and escaped from such a terrible hell. This completely aroused the anger in her heart, and she immediately took her second sister and third sister to find those two people. She made up her mind to turn both of them into stone and then crush them severely. The previous king Guluoliosa, a short white-haired woman known as Grandma Z, was also shocked and angry. Which group of people dared to come to Nine Snakes Island to rob people like this without knowing whether they would live or die? Things will not end well for these people. She also quickly followed. Soon I arrived at the city gate and saw a man with strange golden hair, and a man wearing a black hat and black clothes, who was carrying a female warrior. Of course my mother-in-law recognized it. Isn't this the female warrior Margaret on the island? Even tied up. Shouted angrily. Human trafficker, why don't you let Margaret go? Dior paid no attention to the white-haired, short old woman. Instead, he looked at the beautiful woman wearing a purple cheongsam with a proud face. Needless to say, this must be the most beautiful woman in the sea. After all, even he thinks she is beautiful. With such a temperament and appearance, she is indeed worthy of the title of No. 1. He said with a smile. I am Dior of the Estrella family, the Empress Boya Hancock. Can you please marry my father and become her concubine? Although his father ordered that the family name should not be revealed. To avoid trouble, but is he someone who is afraid of getting into trouble? This time, be polite first and then attack. If you are willing, you don't need to take action. If you don't, it's not too late to take action. There should be nothing wrong with marrying his father, at least he won't suffer any disadvantages, and at least he is very friendly towards women. At least Dio didn't see any mother being wronged on the island. They all looked happy and showed no worries, indicating that they were very happy with their father. When Hancock heard the words of the young man in front of him, he instantly became unhappy. Not only is it a trafficker, the target is himself, who wants him to marry his father. What a courageous person. This must be coveting her own beauty. Estrella family. I had never heard of a small family wanting to marry her. It was so whimsical that a toad wanted to eat swan meat. Furthermore, they already have such big children, and the father of those two people is probably an old man, and he actually wants to make her a concubine. Second sister, third sister, kill him for me. My two younger sisters, since they escaped from the Tianlong people, have trained hard and have become very powerful female warriors on the island. It is enough to deal with these two small families, and it is not my turn to take action. The second sister with long green hair and the third sister with long orange hair in her mouth stood up without hesitation after hearing her sister's order. They were equally angry at this person who dared to take advantage of their sister. Directly activating the devil fruit ability, the second sister directly turned into a big green snake, and the third sister turned into a big snake with fiery red hair. Both of them have human heads and snake bodies, and the third sister also holds a machete in her hand. The second sister twisted her snake body and ran towards the blonde man quickly. When it came close, it swung its terrifying tail and attacked it. As long as he is caught in her tail, he will never be able to break free. But when her tail attacked the man, a golden giant suddenly appeared in front of him. The thought that this was a devil fruit user flashed through his mind, but now it was too late to take back his tail. But it doesn't matter. She didn't think this sudden giant could cause any harm to her. Just attack the giant and blast it to pieces. The tail just wanted to wrap around it, but the golden giant held the tail with both hands, and a terrifying strange force was transmitted from the tail to the brain. At this time, Dio smiled. Got you. The golden giant struggled to grab its tail, but then he threw it over his shoulder. The huge force made the green snake unable to resist at all. The body flew directly up, and then fell heavily to the ground. The ground shook violently. She felt severe pain. The bodies were severely injured. At this time, the third sister's face was full of anger, and she dared to hurt her sister. The huge body twisted quickly and moved forward quickly. When he came closer, he waved the machete to cut the golden giant holding his sister in half. But the golden giant suddenly covered his hands with black-armed domineering energy. He stretched out one hand and grabbed the machete. The contact between the two sides produced a great sense of collision, and the ground cracked. The third sister looked surprised. His weapon was actually caught with his bare hands. This man is so powerful, armed and domineering, he is no ordinary thief. He wanted to withdraw his machete, but found that he couldn't. After trying several times to no avail, she simply gave up the weapon, raised her right fist and smashed it down. She didn't believe that the opponent's thin body could block her blow. But the golden giant freed up his other hand, and then firmly grasped the attacking fist. At the same time, the other hand also tightly grasped the fist. Swinging again like before, third sister's fat body drew an arc and hit the ground in the distance, and the ground shook instantly. These people are just stronger than the female warriors he met before, and are not enough for him to use the power of stopping time. After all, he often sparred with his brothers and sisters on the island. The body is extremely strong, and this strength is also reflected in the substitute. Grandma Zi, who was watching the battle, looked horrified. These two were the strongest female warriors on the island besides Boya Hancock. In this man's hands, he couldn't hold up a few moves. This person is really strong, and he comes with bad intentions. Who is this Estrella family? With her old experience, she has never heard of it. Having the strength to defeat the two sisters should not remain unknown. Forget it, as long as the Empress Hancock is still on the island, it should be fine. She is the most outstanding king in history, possessing powerful devil fruit abilities, conqueror's domineering power, and the qualifications to become a king. In terms of strength, he is definitely Dahai's top master. But she didn't know why, but she felt vaguely uneasy in her heart. Since these people dared to attack Hancock, they couldn't be unprepared. No one would die in vain, and these two people did not look stunned, but on the contrary, they looked confident. But she really couldn't figure out how these two people would act. At this moment, the Empress was feeling angry. These two sisters were so incompetent that they were knocked down all of a sudden. She had to take action herself. She pulled out a red heart with her hand, then pulled the red heart and shot out a series of pink light arrows. As long as he is hit by her light arrow, he will turn into stone. Dio faced these pink light arrows, and of course he chose to avoid them. The Empress ate the sweet fruit and was able to petrify any object she encountered, which can be said to be extremely dangerous. The opponent is now 20 meters away, which is not his attack range. Facing such an opponent, he planned to use the power of stopping time. This is foolproof. Next, as long as you get within 20 meters of the opponent, you can activate the power of time stopping. Then he was tied up tightly with the rope prepared by the family, so that he could not even move his hands. After all, this is a gift from my father, so of course it cannot be beaten or injured. The Empress was displeased when she saw that she couldn't hit the target with her bare arrow. She was really a flexible monkey. She planned to fight in close combat. She was the strongest female warrior on Nine Snake Island. He moved and rushed towards the blonde young man. Lifting her right leg, she was struck hard. Fragrant legs. As long as she takes one hit, she will be petrified and broken on the spot. There is nothing to hold back against these people. An unexpected smile appeared on Dio's lips. There is no need for him to find a way to get closer. The other party approached directly, saving him a lot of effort. When the opponent came within 20 meters of him, his substitute appeared directly in front of him and roared. The world, time stops. It was like the sound of a clock turning. Everything stopped, and the Empress figure floated in midair, still maintaining her kicking movements. But she did not fall to the ground, which obviously violated Newtonian mechanics. But this is the power of time stopping, and Newtonian mechanics does not play any role. Jotaro was conscious and could see what was happening. Because he also has the power to stop time. But other people's time stopped completely, and of course their thinking also stopped. When Dio uses this move, the battle is about to end. No matter how strong he is, he can't defeat this ability. Far away in the East China Sea, Reinhardt was sitting on a boat and felt something strange. This time-stopping power should have been activated by his own children, Dio or Jotaro. The scope is very large, covering the entire pirate world. I hope these two guys don't do anything terrible. In fact, he was a little worried. After all, his child was a little lawless, so he was bound to the family island. This was a helpless move. But people always have to grow up and live their own lives. If they really did something terrible, then just lock them up themselves. And on the mysterious island in the windless zone on the other side, Yuan Lujai, a young man in black with short hair, also felt something strange and opened his eyes. This is my younger brother's ability. These two younger brothers ran away secretly. If they come back, they must be punished on their father's behalf. In the deepest part of the Holy Land, Pangu City, in the dark environment of the palace, a man wearing a crown and standing on the void throne had a look of astonishment and horror on his face. It made her shriveled skin look even more terrifying. What's going on with this strange feeling? My body seems a little unable to move. Could it be that a powerful enemy has invaded here? Feeling it quietly, not really. So what's going on with this strange feeling? This is a feeling that has never happened in 800 years. On a small boat approaching Nine Snake Island, a young man wearing glasses and wearing a white feather fabric also felt that his body could not move. But he is still conscious and sentient. This is my younger brother's ability. Of course, it couldn't be sensed before, but now it's because the Hogyoku in his body has awakened. This is a magical bead, giving it the ability to resist the stopping of time. My father is so powerful that he can even give him such a thing. This has been in his body since he was born, and he has only recently begun to master it. He discovered that this bead seemed to be able to grant people's wishes. And he naturally hopes not to be restrained, so he has this power. After the time-stopping ability was activated on Nine Snakes Island at this moment, Dio controlled the avatar world and held the rope for 1 second before arriving at the Empress' side. It took 2 seconds to tie her tightly from neck to toes. Completely losing the ability to move. Unable to move my arms and legs. After all, he didn't have a sea tower stone, so he had no choice but to do this. If it's tied up, you can still activate your devil fruit abilities, but you won't be able to move your hands or feet. Still very safe. The time stop ends and time begins to flow. The Empress instantly felt something strange in her body and couldn't move. When she lowered her head, she found that she was completely tied into a dumpling, with a look of horror on her face. What the hell is going on? The one who had clearly launched an attack before was still in midair. Why did it become like this in the blink of an eye? What the hell did you do to me? Could it be said that she was subdued in an instant? Let yourself not react. But how is this possible? There is no way anyone can do this. Dio laughed. Want to know? Just become my father's concubine and ask him. Of course, even if you know, you can't resist. The only people who can resist this ability are extremely powerful people. He felt that those powerful marines or the pirate four emperors simply couldn't resist. The Empress only felt depressed, angry, and powerless in her heart. Will he be arrested again like before? This time it may be a more terrifying existence than the celestial dragons. How could there be such a terrifying person in the Estrella family? A family like this shouldn't be unknown. Dio had already carried the tied Empress on his shoulders at this time. Things are done and it's time to go. The mother-in-law woke up when she saw this scene. This man was going to take Hancock away. She had full confidence in Hancock before and believed that the invading enemy could not defeat Hancock at all. But in the blink of an eye, Hancock was completely under control. She couldn't believe it at all, but the facts were clearly in front of her. She immediately rushed to the blonde man. Put her down. The Empress must not be captured. Not only is this a dangerous thing for the country, but the Empress is also her own child. Even the female warrior who came with him bravely stood in the way. She didn't know what happened, but the Empress was caught directly. My heart was full of horror. But he absolutely cannot watch his king being taken away. How could these two people stop Dio? He knocked them to the ground with just a few punches from the avatar, causing them to lose consciousness. Then the two brothers each carried a woman and walked towards the boat from which they came. This time it was already a big harvest. I originally thought there was only the Empress, but I didn't expect to gain another person. Father will definitely be very busy in the future. After they came to the boat, they soon discovered a boat approaching, with a young man wearing glasses and a white feathered fabric on it. Jotaro and Dio both changed their expressions. Because the person who came over was their brother Aizen. And Aizen would appear here, so it could only be that his father sent him here. This brother's genjutsu is very strong, and even Dio is on guard, fearing that he will be hit at some point. The most terrifying thing is that after being hit by genjutsu, you have no ability to resist, even if you stop time. Dio looked at his brothers who were sailing over with a wary expression. Aizen, what kind of wind has brought you here? Aizen pushed up his glasses and said with a smile. Father asked me to tell you that you can go to sea, but don't make too much noise. Do you understand? The father still indulged them, otherwise it would be impossible for the two of them to sneak out with his father's ability. With magical beads like Hogyoku, it is too easy to ban these people. Now even he has an idea. That is to completely isolate the family island. Even if barriers are applied, even the space technique cannot be activated. Dio couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this. He reacted immediately, with a look of ecstasy on his face. The old man finally thought it through and should have let us out long ago. The small island simply cannot accommodate him. The world is his stage and he can do whatever he wants. Jotaro had a look of surprise on his face. In this case, wouldn't he not have to worry about being held accountable? The Empress was frightened when she heard this. Is he actually an old man? How tragic it is to think that she, the most beautiful woman in the world, is marrying an old man. Aizen's smile faded when he heard Dio's words. Dio, are you so disrespectful to your father? There was danger in his eyes. No one in the family dares to be as presumptuous as Dio. This made him want to teach him a lesson. Dio laughed. Aizen, you guys don't want to take action against me, do you? You have to think clearly. I will take action the moment you draw your sword. After saying that, he summoned the substitute world, and a golden giant appeared in front. He knew that the Zanpakuto had the special ability to release Genjutsu Kyoku Suigetsu. But it has to be pulled out before it can be used. And his power of stopping time can make the opponent unable to even pull out the knife. That way you can perfectly decipher the opponent's abilities. This is why he is not afraid of Aizen. Aizen was unmoved. Do you take action before you draw the sword yourself? The ability to actually hack one's own Kyoku Suigetsu. It might have given him a headache before, but not anymore. Kneel down and accept the punishment. You have no idea how great my father is. Dio said with disdain. I know the greatness of the old man better than you. The old man's time-stopping ability is much stronger than him. After being still for a while, he was still able to move around, and even taught himself a lesson, which was quite terrifying. But he couldn't move at all during the old man's timeout. But Aizen is no match for him. Except for the eldest brother and the old man, I can be said to be the third most powerful person in the family. Come if you can. The Empress on his shoulder was a little shocked. I did hear him say that he was from the Estrella family before. I thought it was a small family before, but now it seems to be a very powerful family. Is this guy who can subdue himself actually ranked third in combat power? Doesn't that mean there are two very scary people up there? Where did this come from? After carefully thinking about the memories in my mind, I found no records about this family. Aizen smiled contemptuously. Do you think your ability is ranked third, which means you are above me? Very good, let you see it. He made a gesture to pull out the Zanpakuto from his waist and put his hand on the handle. Dio's eyes narrowed when he saw Aizen really taking action. Aizen, then I will beat you up. You asked for it. The world, time stops. As if a huge clock was turning, the whole world suddenly stopped. Even Aizen stood still and continued to draw his sword. Dio sneered, and after activating the ability to stop, Aizen couldn't break free. He immediately controlled his avatar and beat him up. At least he lost his mobility, as long as he didn't die. Jotaro was also able to observe all this. It feels like it's over. Starting and stopping before Aizen's genjutsu starts means that Dio wins. And just when the substitute world was about to arrive in front of Aizen, a smile suddenly appeared on the corner of Aizen's mouth. Dior, you are so naive. Dio's expression changed greatly. Impossible, how can you do this? Only the eldest brother in the family can do this. Jotaro was also shocked. Is brother Aizen that strong to this extent? The world cannot restrain him. At this time, Aizen drew his sword and slashed at the substitute world that rushed over, splitting his abdomen directly with the sword. If the substitute world is injured, Dio will also be injured. At this moment, the pause ended, and Dio let out a cry of extreme pain. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. A large wound appeared on his body, and blood spurted out. Unable to bear it, she fell to the ground, and the Empress on her shoulders fell to the ground. She looked at Dio lying on the ground, wailing in pain, and a large wound suddenly appeared on his abdomen. The brain cannot understand at all what is going on. I saw the guy named Dio who kidnapped him released the Golden Giant. But now the Golden Giant has a huge wound on his body, and even the kidnapped Dio has a big wound on his body. It seems that as long as the Golden Giant is injured, Dio will be injured. But he didn't see how the man with glasses acted at all. There was no action of drawing the sword at all, nor was there any flying slash. But at this moment, the man wearing glasses obviously drew his sword downward, indicating that he had completed the action of swinging the sword. She couldn't understand it. No matter how fast she should be able to see some traces, but there really were no traces at all, so this was the reason for her doubts. Aizen jumped off the boat and came to Dio lying on the ground and asked, Dior, do you still dare to be disrespectful to your father? I don't mind taking another swing at you. Dior is a guy with relatively strong physical abilities and can recover from his injuries, so such an injury won't kill him, but on the contrary, it can torture him. Dio was shocked and angry when he heard this. Aizen. This knife is really painful. But the situation is stronger than people. He directly raised his hands in surrender. I don't dare anymore. Aizen was finally satisfied and had a smile on his face. You cannot question your father's greatness. Remember your father's words well and don't make too much noise outside. At this time, the Empress looked at the young man wearing glasses who admired her father so much, and she couldn't help but feel suspicious. Is his father, the old man, so strong? Listening to the conversation between these two people, they are much better than the young man wearing glasses and Dior, otherwise it would not be called great. She was completely confused. This was really incredible. If he were stronger than these two people, how much stronger would he be? In fact, before this, she felt that she was a first-class master in the sea, and she was really strong. But in front of this man named Dio, he couldn't make a single move. She still can't understand how the other party tied her up. Although I am a little unconvinced, defeat is a fact. As a warrior, if you lose, you lose. He is just like a little minion. If the other party has murderous intentions towards you, then you may die in an instant, so there is nothing to be dissatisfied with. Just as Aizen was about to leave, Jotaro quickly called him. Brother Aizen, wait a minute. These two women are gifts that Dio and I brought back for our father. Please help bring them. Aizen frowned and looked at the two tied people, one on Jotaro's shoulders and the other on the ground. Did you kidnap these two people? Father doesn't like this kind of behavior. And my father has already taken in 4 new concubines. Minato took 2 back, and Orochimaru also took 2 back. Jotaro couldn't help but feel a little headache, as if his father really didn't like this method. And my father has 4 new concubines. He was a little confused. It would be a pity to let 2 people go like this. One of them is Hancock, the most beautiful queen in the sea. The Empress felt unbelievable that she suddenly had 4 concubines. She looked like a lecher. Does an old man still have so much energy to deal with 4 people? Suddenly she thought of a way to save her, which was to let the man with glasses let her go. Busy shouted. These 2 people came to my country and kidnapped me. Please let them let me go. He should be let go, at least the old man still has some conscience and doesn't like the act of kidnapping people. She saw some hope. She is the Empress, how could she be reduced to a concubine? There is probably no one in the sea who can match her. At this time, Dio's body slowly recovered, and the wounds on his abdomen had disappeared. Of course, it took a lot of life force to repair it. I was scared in my heart. This guy Aizen has become stronger again. He looked at the Empress and said dissatisfiedly. Shut up. Aizen, This is Boa Hancock, one of the Shichibukai, a great pirate. Pirates don't have human rights, and I believe my father won't hate them either. This is a gift from me to my father. It's up to you whether you accept it or not. It's my father who counts. Aizen's frown relaxed. He wasn't angry at Dio's words. There is no need to compete with Dior and bring yourself to the same level as him. Only the father can make the decision in this matter, in a calm and honest manner. Then I'll take it back. The Empress was completely panicked. What the hell is this? Why don't pirates have human rights anymore? Let me go, you robbers. Aizen did not coddle her and directly used Kido to silence her. Then he carried her, took the other woman from Jotaro's hand, and brought her back to his ship. Then the Reiatsu drove the boat away. I have warned these two brothers. If they make a big fuss, their father will naturally deal with them. The Empress panicked. Why can't I speak? I'm so lost. After Aizen left, Dio got up from the ground, covered in dirt. This guy is finally gone. Jotaro looked at Dio and tried to persuade him. Brother Dio, please don't disrespect your father again. In fact, their father was pretty good to them. The only drawback might be that they were grounded. Dio looked depressed. That old man, forget it, let's not talk about it. Now Aizen can teach him a lesson. And his eldest brother can also teach him a lesson. Feeling a bit untouchable. Let's go, Jotaro, get ready to go to sea. He jumped onto his boat first. Jotaro naturally followed him on the boat and asked in question. So where are we going next? Dio swept away his previous depression and laughed. Of course we're going to the new world. That's our stage. Let's occupy a few territories first. If we want to become the fifth emperor, of course it won't make sense if we don't have any territory. In fact, he heard what Aizen just said. Minato truly deserves to be his sister. He actually found 2 concubines for his father, and Orochimaru also found 2. So how can I have less? He knew that on the Fish Man Island 10,000 meters underground in the New World, there was a mermaid comparable to the world's most beautiful empress, Hancock. She is the princess of Fishman Island. Although it is a mermaid, it is good to keep it as a pet for my father. Being taught a lesson by Aizen this time really scared him. My father is a really terrible person. It's better to please more. Furthermore, when he comes out this time, he will definitely not be content with being ordinary, and will definitely make a big fuss. He is so frustrated in the family, how can he be a coward outside? On the other side, Reinhardt arrived at Coco West Village in a boat built by his wood style. Nami and Nuauchi shouted to Jien, the guard in the village. He is also the one who cares most about his mother. Now the village is no longer threatened by Eren, and its living conditions have improved a lot, and it is no longer as oppressed as before. And those fishmen who were not wiped out have never returned to this island, and it is not known where they fled to. The 5 of them walked together to the orange grove on the back hill, where Belmir was buried. On the way, Aegean couldn't help but come to Nami and ask. Can this person really resurrect Belmir? He still couldn't believe this kind of thing, but he thought this man was quite handsome and a bit special. Did he really have the ability to bring the dead back to life? Nami said affirmatively. Of course, Nokigao and I have seen it with our own eyes. The person next to her is Kuina, who is better developed. He is taller than her and has a better figure than her. Aegean was so excited after hearing this that his hands and feet were trembling a little. That's fine. It would be great to have Bellemare resurrected. Soon after, the 5 people arrived at the orange grove in the back mountain. Nami pointed to a small hill and said, "My mother is buried here. Lord Reinhardt, please resurrect her." In fact, she wanted to call her husband, but she couldn't do it and it was too embarrassing. Of course, I don't know why, but I don't seem to dare to be presumptuous in front of this man. Nuo Chigao on the side was also full of excitement. When Orochimaru resurrected Kuina, she saw the whole process. It's very simple and only takes a few minutes. Reinhardt naturally did as she wished, which was also the purpose of coming here. With a wave of his finger, the hillock of soil flew directly up. With his strength, Earth-style no longer needs to form seals, or even clap his hands. There is a feeling that Taoism is natural, but in fact this is still ninjutsu. You can see large pieces of soil flying around, including a jar. It probably contains Belmire's ashes. Then wave your fingers to let the jar fall steadily to the ground. He took out a white Zetsu body from the system space, which was composed of Hashirama cells. It is an excellent material for reincarnation from dirty soil. Then he opened the jar and sprinkled some ashes on Bai Zetsu's body, shouting, "The art of reincarnation from dirty soil." I saw a bright light falling from the sky. Baiju's body suddenly changed, and dirty dirt covered it. She turned into a woman with a slim body, gray eyes, and long dark red hair. Didn't open his eyes. That was because Reinhardt had not awakened her consciousness. It's just the reincarnation of dirty soil, it's just the summoning of Belmir's soul, not the real resurrection. Next, we have to use the art of reincarnation to truly resurrect her and give her a normal human body. Aegean was already pleasantly surprised when he saw this scene. This really comes alive. It really is Belmir, exactly the same as Belmir 10 years ago, which is great. It's just that there are still some cracks on her face at this moment, and even her arms are the same. The resurrection probably hasn't been completely completed yet. Even Nami and Nokigao were very excited to see the mother in their memories again. Of course they knew this was not a true resurrection. Resurrection should be like Kuina, with a human body, a beating heart, and body temperature. Reinhardt directly showed his lavender samsara eye. Whispered. The natural art of reincarnation. A ray of light was seen, and Belmir, who was reincarnated from the dirty soil, began to shed the dirty soil on the surface, revealing his normal skin. This scene made Aegean, Nami, and Nokigao truly realize that this was the real resurrection. Completely different from the previous puppet-like person. It feels like a living person. Only after achieving this step did Reinhardt awaken her soul. Belmir slowly opened his eyes, a little confused. What's wrong with me? She looked at her hands in disbelief. Am I not dead? She still had the memory of paying protection fees to Nami and Nokigao, but she no longer had the money to pay. Then Eren shot him in the heart with a gun, and I still remember the pain. It was a feeling of dying. In fact, she should be dead. But now I can actually see things with my eyes and feel my hands. Aegean stepped forward excitedly. Belmir, are you okay now? Belmir raised his head when he heard this familiar voice. It turns out to be Aegean. Why do you seem to have become so much older? My head feels a little dizzy now, as if I've slept for a long time. Am I not dead? Aegean smiled bitterly. Yeah, I'm getting old, and I can't help it. You've been dead for 10 years, and now you've been resurrected. This is the one who brought you back to life. Belmir was instantly shocked. Has he been dead for so long? Aegean really looks like he is 10 years older. He was still a handsome young man back then. Then he turned around and saw that there were two women next to the person who resurrected him, with orange hair and blue hair. This is obviously his adopted daughter Nami, and Nokigao. It has been 10 years and they have grown up. Nami and Nuo Chigao excitedly stepped forward and hugged their mother. Mom, it's great to have you back. They can feel the temperature of their mother's body, which is the temperature of a living person. Belmir sighed a little, he was really dead, and the children he adopted had grown so big. Nami and Nuo Chigao can be said to be adult women, she said with a smile. Introduce me to the benefactor who resurrected me. Nuo Chi said with a smile. It's my other half, Lord Reinhardt. Nami said quietly. This is my other half too. There was no doubt that both of them fell in love with Reinhardt. Not only because he resurrected his mother, he is also an extremely handsome man with a very special temperament. Aegean was shocked by what he said to both of them. He truly became their man. There is no doubt that Nami and Nokigao have become very outstanding women. Compared with him, he was alone, and he didn't know if Belmir would agree to it. Having been single for so many years, there was nothing he could do about it. He could no longer tolerate other people in his heart. Maybe he should take the initiative. Belmir was also shocked. Are you two going to marry this man together? Nami and Noki nodded seriously. Yes. Belmir was speechless. His two daughters were not joking. This man is really amazing. He can be liked by his two daughters and enjoy the blessings of being together. She let go of her daughter, walked to Reinhardt, bowed and said respectfully. Thank you so much for bringing me back to life. Then he tilted his lips and approached him and asked. I didn't expect you to be so capable of seducing two of my beautiful daughters. Shouldn't you give me some greeting gifts? Aegean's face turned bad after hearing this, and he stopped him. Belmir, He has resurrected you. He felt that this behavior was a bit rash. It's like being a mother-in-law who is now collecting gift money. Even Nami and Nokigao were speechless when they saw this scene. In fact, resurrecting their mother is already the best gift. Reinhardt smiled lightly. Why does this look so much like Nami wants money? It seems that Nami has more or less adopted her mother's personality. Thinking back carefully, there are indeed some treasures in my home. Of course it was obtained by the children of the family who went to sea and met some pirates. Don't worry, it will be there, I guarantee your satisfaction. In fact, it is very easy to get money in this world, that is to hunt pirates. The pirates themselves have their own treasure trove, and of course their heads are also very valuable. Only the truly strong can do this kind of thing. After all, it is an act of licking blood from the edge of a knife. Basically, those who can become pirates are strong. Not many people can do that. Bounty hunters are popular in the East China Sea, but in the New World, there are far fewer people who are bounty hunters, and they are not even very famous. Maybe they found that being a pirate was more profitable than being a bounty hunter. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.